Good afternoon.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Alex Guilford.
Delighted to be presenting the show once again. We have got a bumper edition of the show in store for you. There are no fewer than, count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 afternoon kickoffs in the Premier League that we are bringing you updates from. Earlier today, Brentford lost 4-1 at home to Liverpool after Darwin Núñez, Alexis McAllister, the returning Mo Salah and Cody Gakpo scored before Ivan Toney pulled one back. Bad news for Liverpool fans, though. Curtis Jones, Diogo Jota and Darwin Núñez all went off in the first half or at half-time. So a potential injury crisis mounting up in their squad. They visit Luton on Wednesday night. But today we will be at Turf Moor, where strugglers Burnley, who threatened at times to run Liverpool fairly close at Anfield last weekend, but eventually lost 3-1, host Arsenal. Arsenal are fresh, of course, from their biggest ever Premier League away win at West Ham on Sunday, a game they won 6-0. Aston Villa lost at home to Manchester United also on Sunday, but are at Craven Cottage today, where they meet a Fulham side who beat Bournemouth 3-1 at home last time out. Bournemouth and their travelling fans have travailed the length of the country, more or less, this afternoon, and have headed to St James's Park, where they play Newcastle in the famous Eddie Howe derby, of course. Forest themselves are at home to West Ham. As I mentioned, both sides there looking to bounce back from losses last weekend, albeit in slightly contrasting senses. And in our final 4 p.m. game, Tottenham are at home to Wolves. Tottenham, of course, earned a late winner at home to Brighton last weekend. The returning Son Heung-min setting up Brennan Johnson in the 96th minute, while Wolves lost 2-0 at home to Brentford. Then on the show from 6:30, we are bringing you all the updates from the big one today. Champions Manchester City host Chelsea at the Etihad as City bid to close the gap on Liverpool at the top, and depending on developments at Turf Moor, of course, probably leapfrog Arsenal again. Chelsea eventually overcame Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park on Monday night, of course, although the 3-1 scoreline possibly slightly flattered the Blues. City, meanwhile, beat Everton 2-0 at home in last Saturday's lunchtime kickoff thanks to an Erling Haaland brace. City followed that up with victory in midweek, of course, in Copenhagen in the Champions League. But that's not it. From 6:30, we'll also bring you updates from RB Leipzig against Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Bundesliga, and Rafael Benitez Celta Vigo host Barcelona in La Liga. But before any of that, it's time for some team news, and we are going straight to Billy Andrews, who is at our feature game of the afternoon between Burnley and Arsenal. Good afternoon, Billy.
Good afternoon, Alex. Good afternoon, everyone. Vincent Kompany is stuck with the same Burnley side that lost 3-1 at Liverpool last weekend, but Charlie Taylor has overcome an injury to return to the bench. So it's James Trafford in goal, Assignon, Dara O'Shea, Maxime Esteve and Hans Delacroix in the back four. Aaron Ramsey, Sander Berg, Josh Brownhill and Wilson Odobert in the midfield four, and David Fofana and Zeki Amdouni up front for Burnley. As for the visitors, unsurprisingly, no surprises, but Arsenal are unchanged from the team that beat West Ham 6-0 6 days ago, and Emil Smith-Rowe is fit to return to the bench after a minor ankle injury. Jesus, Zinchenko and Tomiyasu were all out, so it's David Raya, Ben White, Gabriel Saliba and Kivior. Ødegaard, Declan Rice, Kai Havertz in behind Saka, Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli. Should be a good one at Turf Moor. Kickoff just over 10 minutes away.
Thank you very much, Billy, bringing us the team news there from Turf Moor. Essentially, there isn't much team news between Burnley and Arsenal, because both sides have named unchanged starting 11s. Let's head to Craven Cottage, where Tom Cooney is watching Aston Villa's visit of Fulham. Good afternoon, Tom.
Good afternoon, Alex. Well, since Fulham's win over Arsenal here on New Year's Eve, it's been just one win in the Premier League. January also saw them knocked out of both domestic cup competitions. They are looking for back-to-back wins here, though, today. Fulham unchanged from the victory over Bournemouth last weekend. Rodrigo Muniz continues up front after his double in that game. Well, speaking of the new year, Villa were flying high on the 1st of Jan, second in the league, 3 points behind Liverpool, but like their opponents, it's been one win in the Premier League this year, and they too are out of the FA Cup. They need to find form quickly to make sure their season doesn't fizzle out. They're boosted today by the return of Pau Torres. He returns in place of Diego Carlos. Yuri Tielemans is also in for the injured Kamara. Moments away from kickoff here at Craven Cottage.
Thank you very much, Tom. Let's quickly head up north to St. James's Park and have a quick chat with Patrick Noiret, who is not, as I called him last weekend, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, of course, was playing in the Super Bowl on Sunday night. And Patrick Noiret, I'm not sure quite as talented at American football, but just as talented at reporting on our version of football. Good afternoon, Patrick.
Good afternoon. Not talented at all with American football, I can tell you that anyway. Right, good afternoon everybody. Newcastle and Bournemouth. Etihad make one change because Karen Wilson is injured. Barnes comes in. Apart from that, it's the same team that won last week against Nottingham Forest 3-2. As for Bournemouth, they lost their last game to Fulham away 3-1. They make a couple of changes. You've got Semenyo comes in and Kleiber comes in. So looking forward to this one. Bournemouth needs something out of this, as with Newcastle. They need a win as well. They're currently 7th in the table, and you've got Bournemouth who are 13th. So looking forward to this one. About 8 away from kickoff.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick, from the north of England, heading slightly further south down to the Midlands and the City Ground, where Nottingham Forest host West Ham this afternoon. We've got Mark Thomas there for us. Good afternoon, Mark.
Very good afternoon to you, Alex. Welcome to the City Ground. Nottingham Forest against West Ham. Forest in 16th place, 2 points just above that relegation zone. They lost narrowly last week at Newcastle 3-2. They've made 2 changes. Nikate and Yates, the captain, go out. Felipe comes into the centre of defence, and Danilo. For West Ham, 6-0 thrashing last week. They're looking to put their season back on a good track. 2 changes for them. Calvin Phillips starts in midfield for Thomas Souček. The big news, Mikel Antonio, yes, he's back, and they need him for those goals. Replaces Ben Johnson. It's going to be a cracker here. We're about 5 minutes away from kickoff.
Thanks very much indeed, Mark. And then from the Midlands, heading even further south into North London, Paul James is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for us this afternoon, where Tottenham Hotspur, fresh off their last minute victory last weekend against Brighton, host Wolverhampton Wanderers, who had a disappointing weekend to speak of. Good afternoon to you, Paul.
Good afternoon, Alex. Yes, welcome Football Live fans. Tottenham are in a little bit of trouble defensively. They've lost 2 of their key defensemen. Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie are both injured. Ben Davis and Emerson Royale steps in. Yves Bissouma steps in for Rodrigo Bentancur, and Son Heung-min makes his first start since the Asia Cup. He steps in for Timo Werner. Wolves have made 1 change, and it's an enforced one with Mateus Cunha being injured, but Hwang Hee-chan, 11 goals this season for him, steps in his place. Spurs versus Wolves, we're about 7 minutes from kickoff.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. So just to remind you of the games we are bringing you from 4 p.m. Burnley v Arsenal, Fulham against Aston Villa, Newcastle at home to Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest hosting West Ham, and Tottenham Hotspur at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Then at 6:30, we've got Manchester City against Chelsea, Celta Vigo against Barcelona, and RB Leipzig against Borussia Mönchengladbach. All the goals are, of course, brought to you by NairaBet. So let's just have a quick look at the odds on NairaBet.com. Now, Burnley against Arsenal, there's plenty of value if you fancy a home win there. That's 9.5 if you fancy Burnley to back up their decent performance at Anfield last weekend with a home victory against Championship, Premier League title chasers Arsenal. 5.5 is a draw, 1.3 an away win. Spurs, if you fancy them to overturn Wolverhampton Wanderers at home this afternoon, it's 1.5 for a home win, 4.75 for the draw, 5.5 for an away win. Newcastle 1.95 at home to Bournemouth, 4.0 for the draw, 3.4 for an away win. Forest are 2.25 for the win against West Ham, 3.1 is the away win. Fulham against Aston Villa, 2.88 for Fulham to back up last weekend's home victory with another this afternoon. 3.6 is the draw, 2.3 an away win. We've got about 6 minutes or so to go until all of our 4 p.m. games get underway. This is Football Live. Thank you very much, Joseph and Victor. Delighted to have you on the end of the line with us this afternoon, and delighted to have you with us as well. Listener, just to remind you, we've got Burnley against Arsenal, Fulham against Aston Villa, Newcastle against Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest at home to West Ham, and Tottenham Hotspur at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers, to bring you from 4 p.m, which will all be just getting away in about 2.5 minutes time. All of those games then from 6:30. Manchester City at home to Chelsea, the big one in the Premier League. Matt Smith will be at that one. Celta Vigo against Barcelona is the game from the Primera Liga. Couldn't find the word for a second there. Alec Hughes will be at that one, and Duka Dobma will be at RB Leipzig against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Just a couple of minutes away from kickoff then in our 4 p.m. games. Let's just have a quick chat with Billy Andrews. If we just squeeze in a quick chat with Billy at Turf Moor. Billy, I'm just wondering if you were surprised in the circumstances to see neither manager name a change to their starting 11 this afternoon.
I think for Mikel Arteta, it's very much a case of if it's not broke, don't fix anything. So, of course, that 6-0 win last weekend didn't really need to change anything. And they did lose 3-1 at Anfield to Liverpool, but they put up a good fight, did Burnley. So I think we saw that in the draw with Fulham the previous weekend. David Fofana getting 2 goals that game as well. So there's some positives to take from that performance at Anfield for that Burnley side, and I think it's going to be a difficult one for Arsenal to break down, I think. But if they get a goal early, you probably say it's going to be another rout for the Gunners.
Yeah, indeed. And who do you think, if the home side are going to get anything out of this game today, who do you think the key players are going to be for them?
Well, David Fofana, he didn't show much at Union Berlin, but they weren't playing fantastically well either. But I think if he can hit the target, then they're going to be okay. But it's all the likes of Josh Brownhill as well, pulling the strings in midfield, and Sander Berg offering just that little bit more defensive cover. And yeah, it's going to be difficult, but when you've got the likes of Martin Ødegaard on the ball, it's always difficult to try and stop those passes.
Lovely stuff, Billy. Just a couple of moments away from kickoff, so we will leave that there for the time being. We're going to have another chat with Billy a little bit later on about the potential managerial change that looks to be imminent at Crystal Palace, because, of course, all the talk this week has been about him, Roy Hodgson, being replaced by the former Eintracht Frankfurt manager Oliver Glasner. Roy Hodgson, of course, it was reported that he was taken ill during training towards the latter end of the last week. Perhaps inevitably, unfortunately, there were lots of rumours circling around about whether or not this was true. It turned out it absolutely was true, but it looks like Oliver Glasner might be about to replace Roy Hodgson as Crystal manager at some point in the coming days, possibly not before their game on Monday night. They are the only team not playing in the Premier League who are not playing either today or tomorrow. They visit Goodison Park to face Everton away from home. Kickoff has just about got underway in all of our games in the Premier League. So certainly a couple of them. I can see the clock ticking on my monitor here. Kickoff confirmed at Burnley v Arsenal. Fulham against Aston Villa has just got underway, and so too has the Eddie Howe derby. Newcastle at home to AFC Bournemouth. Nottingham Forest against West Ham has also just got underway, and so has Tottenham at home to Wolves. Incredibly punctual stuff from our Premier League referees and timekeepers this afternoon on display. Just to give you a score updates from elsewhere in Europe this afternoon, Napoli against Genoa is currently 0-0 at half-time in Serie A. In the Bundesliga, there's 5 games also underway. They kicked off about half an hour or so ago. Most of these, Darmstadt are currently 1-0 down at home to Stuttgart. Heidenheim against the prodigal son, Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen. That's currently 0-0. Mainz against Augsburg, and Hoffenheim at home to Union Berlin. They're both goalless, those games, and Wolfsburg have conceded at home to Borussia Dortmund. So that's currently 1-0. That game in the German Bundesliga. In the Nigerian Premier League, it's currently in the 99th minute of the game between Heartland FC and Kano Pillars. That game is currently 1-1. Kano Pillars have had a man sent off, and Yimby against Shooting Stars kicks off fairly imminently. There has been a goal at, where has there been a goal? There's been a goal at Craven Cottage. Or has there? Just getting news here that there has been a goal disallowed. It's still 0-0, I think, by the sounds of it, between Fulham and Aston Villa. Or can we cut to Tom Cooney, who was at Craven Cottage? Tom, have you got the news for us?
Yes, Alex, not too much confusion here at Villa Park. It was only Watkins that's had the ball in the net after 2 minutes, but it did look offside when the ball was played. Obviously, we had to check. They let play go on. He was slipped through by Yuri Tielemans, but he didn't hold his run. He went a little bit too early, and his nice finish has been cancelled. Well, it's been disallowed. It's 2 minutes gone. We remain at 0-0 in this one.
Apologies, Tom. That will teach me for rabbiting on about the scores outside of the Premier League for a little bit too long. It is still goalless in all of our Premier League games. Looking forward to the big one this afternoon then, where of course Manchester City are at home to Chelsea. In fact, there has been a goal at Turf Moor.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And perhaps unsurprisingly, it has gone the way of the Gunners. Arsenal currently 1-0 up at Turf Moor. We will give you all the latest updates as soon as we can report on that one for you. Martin Odegaard has put his side ahead. We'll catch up with Billy Andrews in a few moments' time just for a report on that one. So we do finally now have a goal in the Premier League. It has gone the way of Arsenal, a potentially crucial one in their title push, trying to keep pressure up on Liverpool, who of course won earlier this afternoon 4-1 away at Brentford. Liverpool will they face Luton Town at home on Wednesday. They don't have a game next weekend. Liverpool, one of very few teams, who do not play next weekend. Just to remind you as well that Manchester City face Brentford on Tuesday afternoon, and at that juncture it's a good opportunity to cross to Billy Andrews, who can give us an update on the goal. Billy.
What a goal this is from Martin Odegaard. The ball's won back by Declan Rice just inside his own half. He finds Gabriel Martinelli and nobody tracks the Brazilian winger. He's got the freedom of Burnley to run down that left-hand side. He crosses it to the edge of the box to his captain, who takes one shot to flick it up, and he half volleys it into the bottom left-hand corner. James Trafford couldn't get anywhere near it. Been all Arsenal since we kicked off. Burnley haven't really strung any sort of succession of passes together. A fantastic finish from the captain at Turf Moor. It's Burnley 0, Arsenal 1.
Lovely stuff, Billy. Thank you very much. We're going to have a chat with Patrick Noiret because there's been an opportunity for Newcastle at home to Bournemouth. Patrick.
Yeah, both teams are going at it, to be honest with you, but it was a chance that came to Newcastle with border over the right-hand side, and a wonderful cross came in, and Trippier, what was he doing there as a left-back? He just stuffed it. But I tell you what, it's both teams at it. It's 6 minutes gone down. It is Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you, Patrick. We're going to head south to the City Ground because there's been a chance for Nottingham Forest at home to West Ham inside the early exchanges. Mark Thomas has more for us.
Yes, a wonderful chance. It was Alanga, had a shot blocked off the line by the goalkeeper's feet. Tavares beat the whole defence down the left-hand side. He's had a very, very lively start. Supal having some difficulty keeping him contained. And as I said, the ball came in. Alanga took it on the half volley. Goalkeeper managed to get his feet out. and it all bounced out of play. But a bright start for Nottingham Forest. They look slightly the better team. David Moyes' team still trying to settle in after that thrashing they received last week. We've got 5 minutes gone here, Alex. It's still 0-0.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Just before we crossed to Billy Andrews for an update on the goal at Burnley, I was just throwing forward to our game this evening. Manchester City at home to Chelsea. Phil Foden, very much a man in form at the moment for Manchester City, playing some of the best football he's ever played. And let's have a little listen to what he said in the build-up to this afternoon's game.
Yeah, I'm happy at the moment, obviously, scoring goals, helping the team. So yeah, delighted. Yeah, obviously I said previously that I prefer playing in the middle, but I'll do a job wherever the manager puts me in. Every time I'm an attacker at City, the aim is to score or assist or help the team in any way you can. So yeah, I'm delighted. It was time for me to step up, and I got a run of games. I think that helped me find my best form. And yeah, now I'm playing with Kevin also, so it's good to play with him because we have a connection. Every time he makes that movement in behind, he's easy to find, so yeah, I'm playing the best football, I would say, in a City shirt.
Phil Foden there, talking about the best football he has played in a City shirt. Interesting seeing him fill in central midfield while Kevin De Bruyne was out injured and shifting out to the right, but playing some fantastic stuff at the moment. Let's have a catch up with Paul James, because there's been a huge chance for the away side at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Paul.
Oh, yes, it was an absolutely superb chance. Really should be 1-0 Wolves. Nelson Semedo picked up the ball on the corner of the penalty area at the right-hand side. He forced an outstanding save from Vicario. But while Vicario was still down, Hwang Hee-chan from 4 yards out had the entire goal at his mercy, but he ballooned it over the crossbar. And it's still Spurs 0, Wolves 0 with 7 minutes gone.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. Let's head to Turf Moor, where Billy Andrews has a couple of different updates to bring us. Billy, there was some slight injury concern for Arsenal a few moments ago, but that appears to now have been abated, that concern.
Slight concern, that's right, Alex, but Martinelli got up after just caught the elbow of Dara O'Shea following a Burnley set piece. And then the other one, it was Bukayo Saka, stayed down for a bit, clutching that left ankle after a fairly robust challenge from Aaron Ramsey. He's since been booked. Vincent Kompany, of course, up in the stands today after that red card at Anfield. So Craig Bellamy's directing from the touchline, but Kompany doesn't look too happy up in the director's box. He stopped sitting down. He started pacing up and down, but Burnley really are struggling to cope with Arsenal. It's under 10 minutes gone, and it's still 1-0 to the away side.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. Ominous signs for Burnley fans at Turf Moor so far this afternoon. This is Football Live.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news. This is Football Live.
Football Live. Football's never sounded so good on Brila FM every Saturday and Sunday.
Tomorrow on Football Live, Manchester United take their superb recent form to Luton Town. Follow all of the action from Kenilworth Road right here on Football Live from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Also on the show, Brighton go to bottom club Sheffield United, and Bayern Munich look to close the gap on Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga with a trip to Bochum. Join myself, Barry Swain, tomorrow afternoon from 3 on Football Live, exclusive to Brila FM.
Hello and a very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon everybody.
Absolute screamer.
Banging form into dreamland.
Oh my God, they were crying. What was he doing in the box?
Check my phone, mate, he's not in there.
He looks thoroughly disgusted.
They've been absolutely brilliant. That's a problem.
So much to tell you about.
So much going on.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
In the Premier League, you just never know.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM. Secure an instant win with NairaBet when your team leads by 2 goals in the match. How many times has one of your betting selections had a meltdown after going 2 goals up? Don't stress. With our new 2 goals up market, if your selection goes 2 or more goals ahead at any stage in the match, then your selection will be settled as a winner, regardless of the final match result. Place your bets on the 2 goals up football market at www.nairabet.com. Include the 2 goals up selections in your bet slip with as many other selections as you want. For more details, check out our promotions page. Full terms and conditions apply. Must be over 18. Bets placed on the match winner market do not qualify. Market available on pre-match bets only. Please gamble responsibly.
Welcome back to Football Live
on
Brila FM.
On Brila FM. Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by Nairabet. This is Football Live with Alex Guilford.
This is indeed Football Live with me, Alex Guilford. No time to sit around and hear from Vincent Kompany just yet. We've got to get an update from the City Ground where Mark Thomas is watching Nottingham Forest at home to West Ham. A yellow card for both sides here, Mark.
Yes, it's a very, very competitive start for both teams, Alex. We had a yellow card for Kudos for a foul on Nico Williams, the Welsh international, and then within 30 seconds, almost like payback, Kudos actually broke away down the centre circle area, got into the Notts Forest half, and Morgan Gibbs-White had to take him for the team and bring him down. As I said, very competitive. Nottingham Forest are trying to stamp out Ward-Prowse and Phillips' domination in the middle of the field, and so far they're doing a really good job on that. They're slightly on top with possession, but after 11 minutes, it's still Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham 0.
Superb stuff, Mark. Thank you very much. We should probably head to Craven Cottage to southwest London and have a catch up with Tom Cooney as well. Because, Tom, it sounds like it's been a slightly cagey opening quarter of an hour or so there, and the away side have had another sort of half opportunity.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. We've not had the fast start I would have hoped for after that early disallowed goal. Both teams just feeling each other out. The majority of the game is being played in Fulham's half. Villa knocking it around nicely. Jacob Ramsey with the first real chance since that disallowed goal. Found a bit of space, 25 yards from goal, just outside the box. And a player of his quality would have hoped to do a lot better. His shot dragged wide of Leno's near post. We're 13 and a half minutes gone. Still nil in this game, waiting for it to wake up.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom. Just the one goal so far in the Premier League in the 4 p.m. kickoff starting that has gone the way of Arsenal at, you'd have to say, relegation favourites at the moment. Burnley, they certainly have an absolute mountain to climb if they are to stay in the Premier League. Their manager, Vincent Kompany, is always fairly philosophical about these things. He always seems fairly positive. So let's have a listen and see what he said about the prospect of the visit of Arsenal this afternoon, earlier in the week.
Obviously, we get to a point, a stage of the season where Arsenal was probably one of those turnaround performances away at the Emirates. And since that game, I don't think we've sat here discussing performances too much. Yes, we can speak about the first half performance against Fulham, but then the second half performance against Fulham was really good. So we've been in every game since that game. So it's about results now and about getting it over the line and keeping it out of the net. There's not much more to it than that at the moment for us, because the games have been good, but it's not enough.
Interesting stuff there from Vincent Kompany. Seems adamant that his sides need to start turning positive performances into points to try and drag themselves out of the relegation zone. Let's have a quick catch up with Paul James, who's at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this afternoon. There's been a chance for the home side, Paul.
Yes, Kulishevsky got down the right-hand side really well. He swung the cross in. It was headed out by Kilman, but it dropped just inside the 18-yard box to Ben Davis, who struck it on the half volley, and it just cleared the crossbar. But a good chance there for Spurs to get themselves into the lead. So far, it's been a fairly balanced game. Both sides not really taking the ascendancy. It's Spurs 0, Wolves 0, 15 minutes gone.
Thanks, Paul. I'm sure we'll be back to you before too long. Two very attacking sides on display at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Wolves definitely with a little bit more to prove following last weekend's results. Let's catch up with Patrick Noiret, because Newcastle v Bournemouth sounds like it's been an entertaining start to the game, Patrick.
Yes, it has. It's end-to-end stuff. But I tell you what, Tavernier had a chance to put them ahead. He's 1v1 against the keeper, and he misses chance. With, 16 gone. It is still Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Let's chat to Tom Cooney, who's at Craven Cottage for us, because there has been another opportunity in that game. Tom, tell us about it.
Well, we've just had a couple of quick-fire opportunities for Fulham, who have woken up in this game. The first one, it was that man Muniz. The ball was clipped over the top. Lovely ball from Andreas Pereira. But as the ball bounced into the turf, it just held up a little bit and allowed Longley to get his body into the forward and put him off. He couldn't get his shot on target. A couple of moments later, Fulham win the ball back in the middle. They've got a 3-on-2, but Muni's touch, it falls underneath his feet. He slows him, and then when he plays a poor ball into Pereira, the ball's just delayed too much, and Villa can tackle it, get it away. But Fulham now, the team that are asking the questions. 17 minutes gone, it's Fulham 0, Aston Villa 0.
Thank you very much, Tom. No goals to bring you from Craven Cottage just yet, but opportunities for either side. Also plenty of opportunities for both sides at Newcastle against Bournemouth. Let's just have just stay on Newcastle against Bournemouth for a second there. Of course, Newcastle United's manager Eddie Howe had a long and I think we can largely consider it a highly successful spell at Bournemouth as their manager. He, of course, took them into the Premier League on 2 separate occasions, but eventually left his position when it looked like they were going to be relegated for a second time. He's really, I think it's possibly being a little bit generous to say he's worked miracles at Newcastle, but he's certainly implemented a very sensible transfer policy there as manager, and certainly has the team playing decent football. Let's have a little listen to what he said ahead of Newcastle's game at home to Bournemouth this afternoon.
Yeah, as you say, new manager, and his methods are really strong, really visible with how they play. And I think we felt that in the away game, as you said, against us. And I think since that win, I thought they've had some really good results, culminating really in beating Manchester United 3-0 at Old Trafford, which was a really strong performance. So they have some direct threats, and we're going to have to be aware of them, and we're going to have to play a lot better than we did against them in the first game. But I anticipate that we will, and we can, and it should be a really good game.
Eddie Howe there in very professional mood. You certainly can't fault him for taking his football incredibly seriously. You'd have no idea from that interview, would you, the relationship he shares with the Cherries and their fans after bringing them such a successful spell as their manager. But I suppose that's his style. We'd sooner have him too professional than too unprofessional. Let's cross to the City Ground and have a chat with Mark Thomas, because West Ham, fresh off the back of defeat last weekend 6-0 at home to Arsenal, just look like they're on the rocks a little bit here again this afternoon.
Yeah, they do a little bit, Alex. They look very, very shaky. And, the Nottingham Forest midfield, Hudson-Odoi and Elanga, and Tavares cutting in from his full-back position. They're causing chaos. Every time they go forward, you just get the sense that they could... they're putting dangerous balls into the box. So far, West Ham are managing to scrape everything away. But it's just that they are scraping out of defense. They look very shaky. And Nottingham Forest look to take advantage of this every time they go forward. Nuno Espirito Santo will be the happiest of the managers after 18 minutes. It is still 0-0, though.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. I can announce that there has been a goal at Craven Cottage.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Yes, we did say there were opportunities for either side in that game, and it has gone the way of the home side, Fulham. They are 1-0 up at home to Aston Villa. We will be crossing to Tom Cooney for an update on that goal in just a few seconds. In fact, I'm hearing it's been disallowed for offside. Either VAR or the linesman's flag have intervened and disallowed Fulham's what would have prospectively put Fulham 1-0 up. As I mentioned, though, we will still be getting an update from Tom Cooney in a few minutes' time. Let's head up to Turf Moor and have a catch up with Billy Andrews, because Billy, sounds like it's all gone a little bit quiet since Arsenal's opening goal, but I'm assuming Arsenal very much in cruise control at the moment.
Very much so, Alex, very much so. Very easy for them to pass the ball, very little press from Burnley. I think Vincent Kompany, if he was on the side of the pitch in his own dugout, he'd be screaming at his players to have some energy about them. There's very little energy or press from Burnley today. It's so easy for the likes of Rice and Ødegaard and even Ben White to bomb forward and make runs and cut things through. Like, they've just won a corner now. It's gone off of Vesterveen, but it's such a poor performance from Burnley, and he's going to have some big words at half-time, Vincent Kompany, if it continues this way. It's still 1-0 to Arsenal.
Thank you very much, Billy. There has finally been a goal at Craven Cottage.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
It hasn't gone the way of Fulham, though. They've just had a goal disallowed, and there has been another goal in this game. Oh, sorry, a ball's in the back of the net again, rather, I should say. And it's gone the way of Aston Villa this time, and it's that man, Ollie Watkins, has put his side 1-0 up at Craven Cottage. We will be getting an update from Tom Cooney in just a few moments' time, but let's have a catch up with who do we have a catch up with? Oh, in fact, we'll get an update from Tom in a few moments. But let's go to Patrick Noiret and have a catch up with the game at St James's Park, because there's been a chance the way of the home side. Patrick.
Yeah, Newcastle applying more pressure on Bournemouth. They won a corner on the left-hand side, which is Bournemouth right. Wonderful float across from corner from Tierney. And I tell you what, the ball came out a volley from Gordon. I was headed for the goal, but guess what? The defender got in the way. But 23 gone. It is still Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick. Let's head to Tom Cooney, who is at Craven Cottage for us this afternoon. Tom, it's end-to-end stuff in that game. Tell us about Villa's opening goal.
Yeah, Alex, the ball's in the net for the third time this afternoon, and this time it does count. It was Fulham who thought they'd taken the lead up the other end. Tim Ream from a set piece came in at the back post, but he'd just gone a little bit too early. Villa get the ball, work the way up the pitch, but it goes out for a Fulham throw-in, and it's an absolute disaster from the Cottagers' defence. The throw-in, I didn't quite see who it was, but it's an attempted throw into the middle. It puts him right in danger. I don't know who it was to. It goes straight to Douglas Luiz, who's 25 yards from goal. He bulldozes it into the path of Ollie Watkins. It's all very scrappy, but he finds half a yard, turns and drags it across goal into the far corner past Leno, who had no chance. 23 minutes gone and a very, very scrappy goal to give Aston Villa the lead in this one. Fulham 0, Aston Villa 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom. Aston Villa will not mind one bit how scrappy Ollie Watkins' goal was there. They need to really head back to Villa Park with 3 points after not exactly finding their stride in recent weeks, going down at home to Manchester United, of course, last Sunday. We'll bring you a couple more updates in a few minutes' time. But before we do that, we're going to have a chat with producer John, who has got the latest odds on the games across Europe this afternoon. John, how are you?
Here's John Kane with all the very latest odds from NairaBet.
Yes, good afternoon, Alex. All doing fine here, and of course, as well as the odds, we've seen some early goals in the English Premier League. Arsenal are leading Burnley away by 1-0. Arsenal are 1.11, so next to nothing for maintaining that lead. The draw is 10.0, and if you think Burnley would turn around at home at Turf Moor, they are 23.0. Also, we've seen another goal for Villa away to Fulham. Fulham now are 5.50 to turn it around. 4.50 for the draw, and an away win for Villa, who are leading by 1-0, is 1.53. Newcastle Bournemouth still 0-0. Newcastle at home, they are 2.05 for the win. The draw is 3.50, and away win for Bournemouth is only 3.50. Forest West Ham also 0-0. Forest are 2.30 for the home win, 3.20 for the draw, and 3.40 for West Ham away win. Spurs Wolves still 0-0 as well. Spurs are 1.67 for the win. The draw is 4.0 and away win for Wolves is 4.75. Also in Italian Serie A, the game that keep an eye on is Napoli. They're losing at home to Genoa by 1-0. So this will be interesting. Odds they're only 6.0 Napoli to turn it around with about 25 minutes to go. 3.0 for the draw and 1.80 for a Genoa away win. Just quickly on the Arsenal game, of course. Some of the people think it might be a goal scenario more than the actual result. So if you think it's going to be over 3.5 goals in this game, they are 2.30. If you think it's going to be over 4.5 goals in the game between Burnley and Arsenal, it is 4.20. Of course, all these prices from Narabet, and they're all subject to change.
Thank you very much indeed, producer John. Always reassuring having you produce the show for me, looking after me superbly every single week. However, before I embarrass myself gushing over producer John any further, going to have a quick catch up with Billy Andrews, because Billy, you've got news of a chance for perhaps slightly against the run of play in this game for Burnley.
Against the run of play, but it's a mercurial player that's got the Turf Moor home crowd on their feet. That's woken them up a bit. It's Odobert on the left-hand side for Burnley. He's up against Bukayo Saka. A few step-overs and some quick feet, and he beats the England international. Then he's up against Ben White. Again, some more step-overs from Odobert, but Ben White just forces him a little bit closer to the touchline than he would have liked. He flashes one across the face of goal, and it's flapped away by David Raya. First meaningful thing the Spanish keepers had to do this afternoon. But Burnley suddenly woken up a little bit and have started putting some good attacking play together down their left-hand side. It's all coming through Odobert, but Arsenal are very dangerous on the counter as well. But it's still 1-0 to the away side at Turf Moor.
Thank you, Billy. And from Turf Moor to St James's Park, Patrick Noiret has an update on an opportunity for the visiting side, Bournemouth. Patrick, what have you got for us?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know who's going to score first, but Solanke should have made it 1-0 to Bournemouth. Wake away on the left-hand side. A cross comes in on his own in the box, and he missed it. So he should have been 1-0 to Bournemouth, but with 28 gone, still Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 0. Thank you very much indeed, as ever, Patrick. And from St James's Park to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where Paul James has an update, because Tottenham Hotspur possibly by now should have taken the lead, Paul.
Well, it's been very tight, but a chance for Spurs. Corner on the left-hand side was swung in. Jose Sarr made a bit of a mess of it, and he wasn't able to keep a hold of it. It dropped into the penalty area for Richarlison, but Richarlison could not get on the end of it, and that scramble in the end came to nothing. But that's really about as good as it's got in this first half. It's Tottenham 0, Wolves 0. We've had 28 minutes gone here.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. Let's head, where should we go now? Lots of news to bring you. Let's have a catch up with Mark Thomas, because finally it looks like West Ham have bucked their ideas a little bit away to Nottingham Forest, Mark.
Yes, they have. They've managed to come back into the affair a little bit. Phillips just got a half chance. He didn't really connect with the ball very well. And right from that, it went straight down the other end, and a really good opportunity for Forest to put the ball away. But again, the goalkeeper managed to make a vital save. It's a very even game so far. Forest are still dominating. The midfield trio are doing a terrific job pinning West Ham back, but they're coming back into it, as I said. It could go anyway right now. 28 minutes gone. It's Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. And we'll go to Craven Cottage, where Aston Villa have come very close to doubling their lead. Tom Cooney has the latest for us.
Yes, Alex, very close indeed. And it was Leon Bailey that nearly put Villa 2-0 up. He got the ball on the right-hand side. Didn't seem to be too much on, but lovely, silky skill to go outside, drop his shoulder back. And I think there was a little Megs in there too. He shaped to shoot and curled one into the near post. Leno looked to be beaten, but it smashed off the crossbar and gone out for a goal kick. Very, very close there from one of Villa's most dangerous players over the past few weeks, Leon Bailey. It remains 1-0 Aston Villa 1 on the half-hour mark.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom. Really interesting to see Leon Bailey doing so well at Aston Villa, isn't it? Hasn't quite worked out for Moussa Diaby on the other wing, who was, of course, signed in the summer for them. Before we have a little listen to Nottingham Forest manager Nuno Espirito Santo's thoughts ahead of his side's game at home to West Ham, let's have a quick catch up with Billy Andrews, because there was a sort of slightly, what possibly would have been a slightly harsh penalty, with plenty of appeals at Turf Moor. Billy.
Plenty of appeals from Leandro Trossard. The ball's fed into him from Martin Ødegaard. He gets in between Sanderberg and Esteve. They just seem to get a nick on the ball before taking out the Belgian, and he goes down. He did hobble a little bit afterwards, maybe trying to almost con Jared Gillett, the referee, into giving a penalty, but he said no. VAR had a brief look and also said no. But Burnley, they had that little brief 5-minute period where they were playing some good stuff. It's all Arsenal again now at Turf Moor, and still 1-0 to the away side.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. I mentioned Nuno Espirito Santo a few moments ago. It was possibly a bit of a surprise for lots of us to see him replace Steve Cooper a couple of weeks ago now, but he seems to have steadied the ship. He's got the team playing reasonably well. They're certainly giving West Ham a good game so far. Just over half an hour played in all of our 4 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. Let's have a listen to see what Nuno Espirito Santo said, because he's been boosted this week by 3 key players for him, returning from the Africa Cup of Nations.
The 3 players you had away on AFCON duty still there, Sangare, Bolly and Aina. How are they, and are they available for this weekend?
No, for this game, no. They are not going to be available. They will return to us, they will rejoin, but for this game, no.
And have you spoken to Ola Aina yet?
No, not yet. We expect them today to arrive.
Because I'm sure he'll be disappointed after how things turned out.
Yeah, we mentioned before, it was a final. Ibrahim and Bolly and Serge were champions. We have to congratulate them, but at the same time, Ola for sure is disappointed, but for sure he'll have another chance in the future.
Nuno Espirito Santo, very philosophical about Ola Aina's unsuccessful bid to win the Africa Cup of Nations last weekend. Of course, Nigeria unfortunately going down to Ivory Coast in the final, the hosts Ivory Coast. We were hearing from Nuno Espirito Santo there. Let's hear about an opportunity for his side in their game this afternoon at home to West Ham. Mark Thomas.
Yes, he'll be the happier of the 2 managers right now. Some lovely play just about a minute ago from Nico Williams. He cut in from the right-hand side, went marauding across the halfway line, put it into right in front of Elanga, who then threaded a wonderful through ball, dangerous through ball into the penalty area. Awanigi came very close to getting around the goalkeeper, but the goalkeeper managed to smother it. But a very, very good chance for Nottingham Forest. They look very, very positive right now, and they look the favourites to break the deadlock. But it's still, after 33 minutes, it's still 0-0.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news. This is Football Live.
Football Live. Football's never sounded so good on Brila FM every Saturday and Sunday.
Tomorrow on Football Live, Manchester United take their superb recent form to Luton Town. Follow all of the action from Kenilworth Road right here on Football Live from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Also on the show, Brighton go to bottom club Sheffield United, and Bayern Munich look to close the gap on Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga with a trip to Bochum. Join myself, Barry Swain, tomorrow afternoon from 3 on Football Live, exclusive to Brila FM.
Hello and a very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Absolute screamer.
Banging form into dreamland.
Oh my God, they were crying. What was he doing in the box?
Check my phone, mate, he's not in there.
He looks thoroughly disgusted.
They've been absolutely brilliant. That's proper.
So much to tell you about.
So much going on.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
In the Premier League, you just never know.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM. If you're betting on sports this week, why not make your money go further? Sign up to NairaBet for 11 days of risk-free betting. If your bet loses, you will get your stake back as a free bet up to 2,000 Naira. All you need to do is register a new account with NairaBet today and qualify to get up to 22,000 Naira in free bets. Visit www.nairabet.com/bonus for more information. General and free bet terms apply. Must be over 18. Must be KYC approved. Must place a qualifying bet. Bets must include football, tennis or basketball markets. Please gamble responsibly.
Welcome back
to
Football Live on Brila FM.
On Brila FM. Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Alex Guilford.
Yes, indeed it is. We have got updates from Turf Moor, Craven Cottage and the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium coming up in just a few moments' time. But just to give you a score check elsewhere in the Nigerian Premier League, Enyimba against Shooting Stars is still 0-0 at the moment. In La Liga in Spain, Osasuna's afternoon kickoff against Cadiz is still 0-0. Napoli are still 1-0 down at home to Genoa in Serie A. The champions, the reigning Scudetto holders, really struggling so far this season and currently 1-0 down at home to Genoa. In the Bundesliga, it's Darmstadt 0, Stuttgart 1, but Stuttgart are currently down to 10 men, or currently they will be down to 10 men for the remainder of the game, you would assume. Heidenheim are currently 1-0 down at home to Bayer Leverkusen. Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen, he's been the talk of the town, hasn't he, really, this week? Jurgen Klopp talking up his credentials as his prospective long-term replacement. Mainz are currently 1-0 up at home to Augsburg, and it's 0-0 between Hoffenheim and Union Berlin, but both teams down to 10 men. It's half-time there. Half-time also between Wolfsburg and Borussia Dortmund. It's 1-0 to Dortmund. There is a penalty at Turf Moor. We will let you know the outcome of that in just a second. There has been a penalty at Turf Moor. We're going to get an update from Billy Andrews on that in just a few moments' time. Fingers crossed for Gooner fans, for the Gunners. Hopefully this puts your side 2-0 up on the edge of half-time. Before we do that, let's head to Craven Cottage and get an update from Tom Cooney. In fact, no, we won't do that because we're going to wait for the penalty. We're going to wait to see whether that is scored or missed by Arsenal before we do anything else. Just to remind you, it's currently Burnley 0, Arsenal 1. In fact, before we get on to Turf Moor, there's been a goal at Craven Cottage.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
There's been a goal at Craven Cottage and Aston Villa have doubled their lead away at Fulham, bouncing back from that disappointing defeat at home to Manchester United last weekend. By the looks of it, Aston Villa and very much in cruise control as we approach half-time. Update to come from Tom Cooney on that goal in just a few moments' time. Still no sign of whether the Arsenal penalty has been taken yet. In fact, I think possible VAR check going on at the awarding of it. So there might be a little delay here on Football Live. Just to remind you, it is 1-0 to Arsenal currently, but they do have a penalty inbound imminently to be taken, it would seem. Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 0 is the latest score at St James's Park, and there has now been a goal at Turf Moor.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Possibly the least surprising news of the afternoon is that Arsenal are now 2-0 up at Burnley, and just with 3 or 4 minutes of normal time left to play at the end of the first half, it is Arsenal 2, Burnley 0 at Turf Moor. Rather, it is Burnley 0, Arsenal 2. Home side first, away side second. The Aston Villa goal at Craven Cottage is currently subject to a VAR review. So hold fire on expecting a report from Tom Cooney just yet. Let's get a report from Billy Andrews from Turf Moor. Billy, tell us about the awarding of that penalty first of all.
Yeah, the penalty, it's a clear penalty for Arsenal. It was Esteve that took out Leandro Trossard. Havertz has way too much space inside this Burnley penalty area, and Havertz is just cleared out by Esteve. Definite penalty for me, no arguments from that. Of course, Esteve didn't think it was one, but he was never going to think so. And Bukayo Saka stepped up. He scored 2 last weekend. He's got 1 this weekend so far, just before half-time. James Trafford guessed the right way, but Saka's penalty was so far into the right-hand corner, no goalkeeper was ever going to reach it. A fantastic start and end to the half at Turf Moor for Arsenal, sorry. It's Burnley 0, Arsenal 2.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. And I can confirm that Aston Villa's second goal at Craven Cottage has been disallowed by VAR. It is still 1-0 at Craven Cottage, 2-0 at Turf Moor, 0-0 Newcastle against Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest against West Ham, and Tottenham against Wolves is the same scoreline. Let's have a catch up with Tom Cooney then, because Tom, you have got an update for us on that goal which was disallowed. In fact, just bear with us for a second, Tom, because there's been a goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it is bad news for Tottenham Hotspur fans. Wolverhampton Wanderers have taken the lead at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We'll be getting an update from Paul James on Wolves' opening goal in that fixture in a second. We can now cross to Tom. Tom, sorry to keep you on the edge of your seat like that. Tell us about the goal that was disallowed for Aston Villa a few moments ago.
That's all right, Alex. It was a long VAR check. Another disallowed goal we've ended up with. It was a corner for Aston Villa. The ball was swung in and Ollie Watkins got up the highest. He nodded it into the far post where Alex Moreno was coming back from an offside position, and he headed it in at the far post. It looked like he had managed to get himself back onside. As I say, we had a long check. They were drawing the lines. We waited ages and ages and ages, and I think it's one of them where we're looking at inches with maybe an armpit that has had him offside for that one. So it remains 1-0 to Aston Villa. 43 minutes gone, nearly half-time here at Craven Cottage.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom. Approaching half-time in all of our 4 o'clock Premier League kickoffs. Of course, João Gomez, it was, by the way, who has put Wolves 1-0 ahead against Tottenham. Before we get an update on that, in fact, let's cross straight over to Paul James, who has got a report on that goal.
Yes, well, the corner was taken on the left-hand side. It was swung into the penalty area. It was hang time for João Gomez. Got up in the air and thumped that header into the top right-hand corner of Vicario's goal. Really poor defending by Spurs. João Gomez was there about 8 yards out with nobody picking him up. It's 43 minutes gone here. It's Tottenham Hotspur 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. João Gomez leaping like a salmon to put his side 1-0 up at Tottenham Hotspur. Mark Thomas at the City Ground has news of a half chance for Nottingham Forest by the way of influential Brazilian midfielder Danilo. Mark, tell us more.
Yes, he caught a shot just outside the middle of the goal mouth area, about a couple of yards away from it, and it was kind of weak. It was a half scuffed shot, but it did get through to the goalkeeper, and Areola made a very comfortable save. It's been a game of half chances so far, you know. It's back and forth. Goalkeepers really aren't being troubled that much. Danilo's coming more and more into the game, and of course the Nigerian Awani, they're trying to get him into focus. He's been pretty quiet so far, but I'm sure they'll make some adjustments when half-time comes. 44 minutes gone. Here is Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Over to Patrick Noiret at St James's Park in the Etihad derby. Patrick, 3 minutes of added time there. A booking for the away side.
Yeah, it's a booking. What's happening, you see, tactically, what Bournemouth are doing, they're going from man for man in the middle of the park. And Chris has been at it all game at Gomeris, but this one, the referee said no, it's a foul. So it's a bad foul on on Guimaraes, and he's got a booking. But we've 45 played, we've about 2.5 to go. It is still Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick. 3 minutes of added time at the end of the first half at St James's Park has been called. So too at Turf Moor between Burnley and Arsenal. I'm reading here 7 minutes have been indicated at Craven Cottage, where Fulham are at home to Aston Villa. A couple of disallowed goals there, so perhaps not a huge amount of surprise. Tottenham against Wolves, 4 minutes of added time at the end of the first half there, so plenty of stoppages and delays stretching out the end of the first half across our 4 p.m. kickoffs in the Premier League. Just to remind you, it is Burnley 0, Arsenal 2, Fulham 0, Aston Villa 1, Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 0, Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham 0, and it's Tottenham Hotspur 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. 5 minutes of injury time has been indicated at the City Ground. And just to remind you, elsewhere in Europe this afternoon, it's still 1-0 to Genoa at Napoli. Osasuna Cadiz is still goalless. Darmstadt are still a goal down to Stuttgart, but also have one man more than their opponent. Stuttgart are down to 10 men. Bayer Leverkusen are 1-0 up at Heidenheim. Mainz are 1-0 down to 1-0 up at home to Augsburg, I should say. It's still goalless between Hoffenheim and Union Berlin, both sides down to 10 men. Borussia Dortmund 1-0 up away at Wolfsburg. And in the Nigeria Premier League, it's Enyimba 0, Shooting Stars 0. Let's go to Turf Moor in the Premier League, though, because Bukayo Saka's gone into the book.
He has indeed. It's a silly thing to do from Bukayo Saka. He's up against Esteve in the Burnley penalty box. They go shoulder to shoulder and Esteve goes down. The referee Jared Gillett gives a free kick to Burnley. Saka takes one touch to get it out on his left foot and shoots wide out towards the corner flag. Jared Gillett brandishes the yellow card. Saka looks absolutely astounded, but he can have no complaints about that. Just approaching the last minute, Arsenal very comfortable, still 2-0 to the away side at Turf Moor.
Thank you, Billy Andrews. Be coming back to you for a halftime report in just a few moments' time, I am sure. But Paul James has news of another massive chance for Wolves. They probably should be 3-0 up or so by now, Paul.
Yes, at the very least, but the cross came in from the left-hand side by Lamina, and on the back, on the corner of the penalty area was Pablo Sarabia, who hit a sweet volley, and Spurs can thank their goalkeeper Vicario, who's flung to his right-hand side and made an absolutely superb save. Otherwise, Spurs could be going in 2-0 down. As it stands, it's still 1-0, and we've got about 3 minutes left of injury time.
Thank you very much, Paul. Quick switch over to Mark Thomas, who is at Nottingham Forest at home to West Ham. What's the latest there, Mark? Chance for the home side again?
Yes, much of the same. Hudson-Odoi is giving Soufal a torrid time down that left wing. You cut to the line again and pull the ball back. In came Danilo, same sort of thing. This time he was leaning back. And he put his shot about 2 or 3 yards over the crossbar, didn't even threaten the goal at this point. But it is much of the same. Hudson-Odoi and Elanga very, very prominent. And the two full-backs for Nottingham Forest, Williams and Tavares having a great game, very influential. So it's coming up to halftime. It is still Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham 0.
Thank you very much, Mark. Tom Cooney has an update from a chance for Fulham to pull themselves level a couple of minutes ago. Tom, what's the latest there?
Yeah, a little half chance for an equaliser for Fulham. They've not really created too much in the way of clear-cut opportunities, so no surprise this one came from a set-piece. It was the man Muniz again who found some space in the box and from a corner and glanced his header just wide of the far post. It had Martinez scrambling. They came very close. I must say, Andreas Pereira has probably been the brightest player on the pitch in spite of his team being 1-0 down. If anything's going to come for Fulham, it looks like it will come through him. We've got a few minutes left of stoppage time, though. It remains Fulham 0, Aston Villa 1.
Thank you very much, Tom. And just on the brink of half-time, there has been a goal at the City Ground.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it has gone the way of the home side, Nottingham Forest. They are now a 0-0 up at home to West Ham, courtesy of their star centre forward, Awoniyi. So an update on its way from the City Ground. Napoli have just dragged themselves level with Genoa at home in the last minute of the game there at the Diego Maradona Stadium in Naples. Ngonge has got the equaliser there for Napoli. Ooh, who should we go to next? Let's get a half-time report from Billy Andrews at Turf Moor.
2-0 to the away side at Turf Moor, and it started and ended fantastically for the Gunners. The first goal came from Martin Ødegaard. It was whipped into the edge of the box by Gabriel Martinelli. One touch to flick it up from the Norwegian international, and a half volley past James Trafford. Couldn't get anywhere near it from the Arsenal captain. Burnley had really struggled to create anything. It was just Odegaard down that left-hand side. He got the better of Saka and Ben White, but just flashed one across the face of goal that was flapped away by David Raya. And they got a penalty on the 40-minute mark after Leandro Trossard was taken out by yesterday. And Bukayo Saka got 2 goals last weekend, stepped up and into the bottom right-hand corner past James Trafford, who went the right way, giving Arsenal a 2-goal lead at half-time. Vincent Kompany, big 15-minute team talk for the home manager. Mikel Arteta probably saying more of the same. It's 2-0 to Arsenal at half-time.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. Let's catch up with Mark Thomas, and he can give us an update on that game there where Nottingham Forest have gone 1-0 up at home to West Ham. It's half-time now as well. Mark, what's the latest there?
Well, we just had a fantastic goal here from Nigerian international Awoniyi. He picked up the ball. It was a sort of a half shot, half pass from Dominguez. The ball sort of rolled into the box. He trapped it. He turns around Zuma. It was a thing of beauty. Left Zuma standing still. And then he faced the goalkeeper, calmly slotted the ball past him. A wonderful goal from a wonderful Nigerian player. It's been coming. It's been Nottingham Forest have by far been the best team so far in this first half. They've just gone off the field, and we'll look for some changes from West Ham. It is Nottingham Forest 1, West Ham 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Let's catch up with Patrick Noiret, who was at St James's Park for Newcastle against Bournemouth. Goalless at half-time there, Patrick.
Yeah, goalless actually at half-time, but I would say to you, a great game with no goals. Looking at the possession stat, 62 to Newcastle and 38 to Bournemouth. But when you watch the game, it's not like that at all. Goal attempts, 8 for Newcastle, 5 for Bournemouth. But in the end, I thought Solanke had 3 chances, to make it 3-0. But, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the second half. And Gordon and Almiron also had chances, but no goals. At half-time, it is still Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick. So it's half-time in all of our 4 o'clock Premier League games. Burnley 0, Arsenal 2, Fulham 0, Aston Villa 1, Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 0, Nottingham Forest 1, West Ham 0, Tottenham 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. This is Football Live.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
This is Football Live with Alex Guilford.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back to Football Live. No time to pause for breath because there has been a goal at Turf Moor.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Arsenal are now 3-0 up away at Burnley, but there has also been a goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Producer John is going to be happy because Tottenham have levelled the score at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Dejan Kulusevski with an absolute peach by the sounds of things. Let's first go to Billy Andrews, who is at Turf Moor for us, who has news on Arsenal's 3rd goal of the afternoon, Billy.
Well, he got 2 goals last weekend against West Ham. He's got 2 goals this weekend already away at Burnley. It's Bukayo Saka with a fantastic finish. It's one backed by Kivior on that left-hand side. He finds Kai Havertz. Havertz with a lovely touch into Martin Ødegaard. Ødegaard spins Standerberg like he wasn't even there and plays a fantastically weighted pass into Bukayo Saka. He's up against Hans Delcroix. He takes one touch onto his right foot and fires it with his weaker foot over the top of James Trafford. Keeper, absolutely no chance. A fast start at the start of the first half, an even faster one at the start of the second. At Turf Moor, it's Burnley 0, Arsenal 3.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. We'll just stick with you for just a second and just check if there are any personnel updates you needed to update us with at halftime. Any substitutions for either side?
Yeah, Vincent Kompany has opted to take off Zeki Amdouni and bring on Johan Berg Goodmanson, presumably to try and get some control in that midfield. But I'll be honest, the opening 2 minutes didn't look very controlled in that midfield before Arsenal's goal, but just started to settle into that familiar pattern now. It's all Arsenal for this first 5 minutes of the second half. Going to be a difficult one for Burnley, this one.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. Time to get an update from Paul James. Paul, we didn't get a half-time report from you, unfortunately, at the end of the first half in this game. Just ran out of time. But you've got exciting news for Tottenham Hotspur fans at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. First of all, give us the lowdown on that goal.
Well, Tottenham Hotspur started like a train in the second half. Throw in by Yves Bissouma down the left-hand side into the penalty area. Pape Sarr tried to touch the ball off for Richarlison, but nipping in was Dejan Kulusevski, who beat 2 Wolves defenders, and he put the ball into the bottom right-hand corner to level things up for Spurs. It's Spurs 1, Wolves 0, 4 minutes gone in the second half.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. And I can announce there has been a goal at St James's Park.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
We dubbed this game the Eddie Howe Derby at the start of the show, but it's his old side, Bournemouth, who have snatched the lead at St James's Park 6 minutes into the second half. And who else but that man, Dominic Solanke, really coming into his own as an established Premier League striker, I think it's fair to say, this season. He's been in fine fettle, and he has got another goal this afternoon at St James's Park. We will, of course, be getting the lowdown on that from Patrick Noiret in just a few moments' time. But before we do that, let's have a quick catch up with Tom Cooney, who is at Craven Cottage for us, because he's about 3.5 minutes into Fulham, the second half of Fulham against Aston Villa. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Alex. Well, it's not started as fast here at Craven Cottage. Both teams just feeling each other out in the second half. Villa going into the second half 1-0 up from that Ollie Watkins goal. In a world without VAR, it might have been 3-1 at half-time. The ball was in the net 4 times. VAR intervened to disallow a goal for Fulham and 2 for Aston Villa. They'll be very disappointed. They had another chance on half-time as well with Youri Tielemans, who was clean through on goal and couldn't find the back of the net. So Fulham, hopefully buoyed by the fact that they're lucky to only be a goal down. They've brought on Alex Iwobi to replace Willian. He's back with Fulham after his disappointment at the African Cup of Nations. He'll be hoping to have an impact here in the second half. Few minutes gone. Fulham 0, Aston Villa 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom. Yes, Alex Iwobi, I think it's fair to say he probably had a successful tournament all in all, but it ended in heartbreak, didn't it, in the final of the Africa Cup of Nations last weekend against the hosts Ivory Coast. Let's move on, though, to St James's Park, because Patrick Noiret has got the latest there. Bournemouth have just put themselves ahead, Patrick.
You know what? It's going to be the easiest goal which Solanke going to score. What happened was Newcastle had possession of the ball. They were playing it around at the back, gave it to the left back then gave it to the goalkeeper. Then Solanke chased the goalkeeper down. The goalkeeper slipped, and then Solanke just put the ball at the back of the net. So we 53 goal, an easy goal for Solanke. It is Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 1.
A nice, easy way for Bournemouth to get themselves a goal to 0 up at St James's Park. Thank you very much indeed, Patrick. That just leaves us for our final second half, start of the second half update from our fifth and final game in the Premier League. That is, of course, Nottingham Forest against West Ham. Mark Thomas is there. Mark, 6 minutes or so played in the second half now. How is that shaping up compared to the first?
Well, it's a bit more of the same, to be honest with you. Nottingham Forest took the ball in the first half. They took the ball by the horns. You know, David Moyes struggling to make any kind of indent with his team. They're very, very lame going forward. They're lacking any kind of industrious play coming from midfield at all. And they look short of ideas. And Calvin Phillips does look... he doesn't look 100% match fit, in my opinion. They've been more attacking from Forest. They're certainly the team that's likely to get another goal and their first win of this year. 50 minutes gone. It's Nottingham Forest 1, West Ham 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Let's give you a rundown. Just a quick reminder of all the scores on the doors in the Premier League. All our 4 p.m. games have goals in them. We, of course, on Football Live, bring you all of the goals. And it's Burnley 0, Arsenal 3, Fulham 0, Aston Villa 1, Newcastle 0, Bournemouth 1. Bournemouth just put themselves ahead after the start of the second half. Nottingham Forest 1-0 up at home to West Ham. Forest putting themselves a 0 up just before the end of the first half. Tottenham have dragged themselves level at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Dejan Kulusevski with the goal for the home side after Joao Gomez put Wolves 1-0 up in the first half. In La Liga, it's half-time in the contest between Osasuna and Cadiz, still goalless there. In the Bundesliga, Stuttgart are still down to 10 men and still a goal to the good. They've played just over an hour away at Darmstadt. Heidenheim have got 1 goal back against Bayer Leverkusen, but Bayer Leverkusen now have 2 goals to their name, so it's 2-1 to Xabi Alonso's side. Mainz still 1-0 up at home to Augsburg. Hoffenheim and Union Berlin still goalless, both sides down to 10 men. Wolfsburg, Borussia Dortmund is 1-1 now. Wolfsburg have levelled at home, and Enyimba are now 1 goal up at home to Shooting Stars. There has been a penalty awarded at St. James's Park. Not sure yet which side it has gone to, but there has been a penalty awarded at St. James's Park, and it has been awarded to Newcastle. So Newcastle with a superb opportunity to get themselves level in the Eddie Howe derby. They went a goal down to Dominic Solanke just a few moments ago. Still checking that. Pen has been confirmed, so just we'll have a little wait around and just let you know as soon as we can whether or not Newcastle are able to convert that penalty. No Callum Wilson for Newcastle this afternoon. Of course, he's got an injury to his chest. He's required surgery, actually. He is their go-to man, typically, from the penalty spot, isn't he, Callum Wilson? So rarely misses. Really interesting to hear him talk about his technique. He just trains over and over and over again. And I can reveal that there has been a goal at St. James's Park.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Which, of course, only means one thing, and it means Newcastle have levelled from the penalty spot at home to Bournemouth. I was just talking about Callum Wilson's penalty-taking technique. I heard him say in an interview that when he has taken a penalty, he then every single training session just practices over and over and over and over again where he's going to slot his next one. Let's cross to Patrick Noiret, who's got the latest from St. James's Park and can tell us who scored that penalty and also what happened in the build-up to it. Patrick.
Well, I can tell you about the build-up first. It was a long wait, before the referee decided it was a penalty or not. It was a simple free kick on the right-hand side, and it apparently Smith pulled someone, was holding someone's shirt. Looking at it again, you can see the shirt being pulled. Not quite sure which striker it is, but anyway, pulled shirt. Then the ref had to check VAR, had to check whether it was offside, not offside. To me, it looked offside, but in the end, it took him about 4 minutes to award the penalty, and Gordon stepped up and put it on the right-hand side. As you said, normally the penalty taker is currently injured, but it is now Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 1 with 58 gone.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick. Half an hour left to go at St James's Park, and there has been another goal at Craven Cottage.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
It feels like we've said this several times already this afternoon, but Aston Villa have the ball in the back of the net again and are 2-0 up at home to Fulham. Guess who it is? Can you guess? It's Ollie Watkins, of course. Aston Villa's talisman this year. He's really got his shooting boots on, has had them on since the start of August, and he has got his second goal of the afternoon at Craven Cottage. We will be getting the updates from Tom Cooney on that goal in just a few moments' time. But before we do that, we're going to cross to Turf Moor, catch up with Billy Andrews, because it looks like there might be a fairly serious injury to Burnley's January signing. Billy, tell us more.
Yeah, Aaron Ramsey, he went down after a tackle from Martin Ødegaard. Ødegaard slid in to win the ball. It looks an incredibly nasty one, because it looks like his ankle's buckled, but now he's down clutching his knee. The stretcher's been brought on. He's been using gas to obviously try and dull the pain. He's got his leg in a bracer, and he has now been stretchered off. He's been replaced by Jay Rodriguez, and Charlie Taylor has also come on to replace Assignon. So a couple changes for Vincent Kompany, but that's a nasty injury to Aaron Ramsey, and we do wish him all the best. He did look like one of the brighter players for Burnley, but that's going to be a long-term one. It's still at Turf Moor, 3-0 to the away side.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. We wish Aaron Ramsey all the best in his recovery from what looks on the face of things to be a fairly serious injury there to him. Just signed from Aston Villa in the January transfer window. Of course, his brother Jacob Ramsey, a pivotal player for the Villains so far this season. We're going to get updates from all over our 4 p.m. Premier League kickoffs. But before we do that, we're going to chat to Tom Cooney, because he can bring us a report on Ollie Watkins and Aston Villa's second goal of the afternoon, Tom.
Yes, Alex, no VAR check for this one. A very, very simple goal for Ollie Watkins to put Aston Villa 2 goals up. Once again, Fulham will be very disappointed. I don't really know what happened. They seem to have a good line. Ollie Watkins was on the shoulder of Issa Diop. Youri Tielemans picks the ball up just inside the Fulham half. Diop seems to hesitate as Watkins makes a very simple run forward. All of a sudden, there's a gap. Simple ball through the middle, and from the edge of the area, there's not much Leno can do. He's completely at the mercy. Ollie Watkins picks his spot and rifles the ball into the bottom left-hand corner. It's 2-0 to Aston Villa. Fulham 0, Aston Villa 2. 58 minutes gone in this one.
Thank you very much indeed. And from Tom Cooney in West London to Paul James in North London. Paul, it sounds like there have been a couple of chances so far in this game. One for a decent chance, at least, for either side.
Yes, yes, both goalkeepers keeping their teams in the game. Starting with Vicario, the ball went down the right-hand side for Wolves. It was swung in by Semedo, and Sarabia got on the end of it and forced a save down to his right-hand side by Vicario. A few minutes later, the ball was laid off by James Maddison on the left side of the penalty area, and it was curled, a beautiful curl to the bottom right-hand corner, and it looked like it was going to be 1-1. It looked like it was going to be 2-1, but it was a wonderful save. Anyway, I'm going to hand back to you because it's 1-1 here.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. You say it's 1-1 there, but there's been another goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
The Goals, powered by NairaBet.
Bad news for producer John. It has gone the way of Wolverhampton Wanderers. They have put themselves 2-0 up. 2-1 up at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and there's been another goal at Turf Moor.
The Goals, powered by NairaBet.
Perhaps unsurprisingly, there has been a fourth goal for Arsenal at Turf Moor. They currently lead Burnley by 4-0. Let's go back to Paul James, who it feels like barely 5 seconds ago you handed back to me, Paul, because Wolverhampton Wanderers were on the attack. And it's that man again, João Gomez, has got his second goal of the game. Tell us more.
Well, Tottenham were caught on the break here. The ball went out to the right-hand side to Pedro Neto. Spurs were unable to get back quickly enough. He storms over the halfway line down the right-hand side and he swings the ball in, and waiting there completely unmarked is João Gomez to smash it past Vicario, and Spurs are now at risk of having the double done over them by Wolves. It's Tottenham 1, Wolves 2.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. Let's head up to Turf Moor and get the update from for Arsenal's fourth goal of the game. Billy Andrews, has that man Bukayo Saka, has he got a hat-trick?
He's not got a hat-trick just yet, but Burnley are the architects of their own downfall again, Alex. This time it's a lovely ball out by Trossard. He finds Ødegaard. Ødegaard whips one out to Kivior. Kivior, sorry. He pulls it back towards Havertz. Havertz can't quite get a shot away. His touch is blocked by Charlie Taylor. It falls to Trossard. First time shot into the left-hand corner past a scrambling James Trafford. He's been fantastic this afternoon, Leandro Trossard. He deserves that goal. They couldn't do 6-0 away wins 2 weeks on the trot, could they? At Turf Moor, it's Burnley 0, Arsenal 4.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. Do you know what? At this stage, I don't think I would rule out 2 more Arsenal goals. They've got a little under 25 minutes of normal time plus injury time left in which to get them. But Arsenal very much in the ascendancy at Turf Moor, although Burnley, you'd have to say, probably could have written this fixture off at the start of the game. You probably wouldn't expect to pick up too many points against the top 3 sides. I can announce there's been a goal at Craven Cottage.
The Goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it has gone the way of Fulham. They have pulled one back. They were 2-0 down at home to Aston Villa, but the score is now 2-1 there. So Fulham very much back in the game. Can they get a leveller in the remaining half an hour or so of their game at home to Aston Villa? More of that a little bit later. We will find out, but this is Football Live.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news. This is Football Live.
Football Live. Football's never sounded so good on Brila FM every Saturday and Sunday.
Tomorrow on Football Live, Manchester United take their superb recent form to Luton Town. Follow all of the action from Kenilworth Road right here on Football Live from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Also on the show, Brighton go to bottom club Sheffield United, and Bayern Munich look to close the gap on Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga with a trip to Bochum. Join myself, Barry Swain, tomorrow afternoon from 3 on Football Live, exclusive to Brila FM.
Hello and a very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Absolute screamer.
Banging form into dreamland.
Oh my God, they were crying.
What was he doing in the box?
Check my phone, mate, he's not in there.
He looks thoroughly disgusted.
They've been absolutely brilliant. That's proper.
So much to tell you about.
So much going on.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. In the Premier League, you just never know.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM. Introducing NairaBet's new feature, ShareBet. Celebrate victories, showcase your skills, and join the NairaBet community today. Ever wished you could share the excitement of your bets with friends and fellow enthusiasts effortlessly? Well, now your betting experience can be shared with just a click, making every moment unforgettable. How to share your bet. Step 1, place your bets at nairabet.com. Step 2, go to the My Bet section. Step 3, select the drop-down on your bet slip. Step 4, select Share Bet to copy your bet. Your bet is now ready to be shared with the world. Must be 18 plus to place a bet. General terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Football Live
on
Brila FM.
On Brila FM. Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Alex Guilford.
Yes, this is indeed Football Live with Alex Guilford, and I can announce that there has been another goal at St James's Park here on Football Live.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
We bring you all the goals here on Football Live, courtesy of NairaBet, and I can tell you that Antoine Semenyo has put Bournemouth 2-1 up at St James's Park. We'll get the update from Patrick Noirette there in just a few moments' time. But first of all, we've got to catch up with Tom Cooney, who is going to bring us news of Fulham's goal at home to Aston Villa. A man very much in form at the moment has pulled one back for his side. Tom Cooney.
Yeah, Alex, no surprise at the goal scorers today for both sides. Fulham scoring kind of against the run of play, really. The game had gone a little bit flat. Villa well in control, and it's another goal that's, you have to look at the defending. The ball, it's Anthony Robertson who chases quite an overhit pass into the corner, manages to dig out across, and Longley and Martinez both seem to have the situation under control. They leave it for one another, but it's Rodrigo Muniz, who is hungrier than both of them, nips in, just get a little touch and divert the ball into the near post to give Fulham a way back into this game on 65 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom. I was just going to have a quick chat with you about Muniz, but let's move on because we've got to get an update from Patrick Noirette for Bournemouth's second goal away at Newcastle. Patrick, tell us more.
This was a wonderful work goal. What happened was Newcastle lost the ball on the halfway line. 3 passes into Semenyo on the right-hand side. Guess who's standing in front of him? It's Burns. He shimmies to go right side. He comes inside and right foot across the goalie. Left goalie's right hand side. Wonderful goal. We've watched 71 gone. It is Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 2. We have a game. It is a derby, like you say.
Thank you very much indeed. Patrick, let's go up to Turf Moor, where Arsenal are very much playing with the handbrake off away at Burnley, although very much ringing the changes so far. Well, very much ringing the changes a few moments ago, Billy. Mikel Arteta has rested some of his key players.
Yeah, the handbrake's off and cruise control firmly activated for Arsenal at Turf Moor. He's made a triple change, Mikel Arteta. Saka, no hat-trick for him today. Ben White and Leandro Trossard have come off, and they've been replaced by Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, and the forgotten man at the Emirates, Cedric Suarez, because former Southampton and Portugal international Cedric has come on. And they were down to 10 men very temporarily. Declan Rice went off, and the fourth official just helped him pop his contact lenses back in. But he's back on the pitch now, and you would say so comfortable for Arsenal this afternoon. They've got just over 15 minutes to go at Turf Moor, and they're 4-0 to the good.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. Mikel Arteta with the luxury of being able to rest some of his key players. So well are his side playing this afternoon. 4-0 up at Burnley. Just to remind you, latest scores in the Premier League, it's Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2 at Craven Cottage. Same scoreline at St James's Park. Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 2. Forest are 1-0 up at home to West Ham, and Wolverhampton Wanderers are 2-1 up away at Tottenham Hotspur. Let's have a catch up with Mark Thomas, who is at the City Ground watching Nottingham Forest against West Ham. Plenty of news for you to bring us here, Mark. There's been a substitution, and there was also a chance for the home side a few minutes ago.
Yes, we've had 9 yellow cards in this game, by the way, so far. Substitution from the Nigerian, Awani. He's been a handful. He's a big lad, and boy, does he do a great job holding the ball up. Yeah, he's got substituted. He's worked his socks off today, and Divock Origi has come on. Massive, a few half chances each side. Nottingham Forest just went close. A shot from outside the box there. Goalkeeper punched it away as it was headed for the top corner. Lots of action. No other breakthroughs. If it stays like this, it'll be Nottingham Forest that will claim these valuable 3 points today. It is still 1-0.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick. We have got news of a red card to bring you in a few moments' time from the City Ground. West Ham, we understand, of course, subject to a VAR review, are down to 10 men. But just to remind you, at 6:30 this evening, we are bringing you all the updates from Manchester City against Chelsea. The lineups are in for either side, which I will give you the rundown of in just a couple of seconds. Before I tell you that it's Calvin Phillips, the man whose luck is the man whose luck is absolutely out at the moment, isn't it? He has had to move to West Ham in order to try and get some game time ahead of the Euros this summer. He gave away a goal very cheaply in his first game for West Ham, and he's now received a red card in what can only be his third or fourth appearance for the team. Back onto Manchester City against Chelsea this evening. Manchester City line up with Ederson in goal and a back four of Walker, Diaz, Ake and Akanji at left back. Rodri, as you would expect, in holding midfield. A midfield four of Foden, De Bruyne, Alvarez and Doku, with Erling Haaland through the middle up front. Chelsea, meanwhile, have Petrovic in goal still. They're playing 4-2-3-1. Gusto, Disasi, Colwill and Chilwell. Just before I tell you who's anchoring midfield for Chelsea, I can announce another goal at Turf Moor.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Well, Billy Andrews called it a couple of minutes ago. Could Arsenal get or equal their record that they broke last week for their biggest ever away win in the Premier League? They've got one goal closer to it. It's now 5-0 to the Arsenal at Turf Moor. One more goal. Kai Havertz scored that one, by the way. One more, and they will equal last weekend's record. And of course, another goal after that, and they will, in back-to-back weeks, break their record for away Premier League wins. Meanwhile, back to Chelsea's lineup this afternoon. The two anchoring midfielders for them, no surprises, are Caicedo and Fernandes. They're playing with Palmer and Sterling on either wing, with Gallagher in the number 10 position behind Nicholas Jackson. So I think the most important thing to do is to get the update on that goal for Arsenal, their fifth goal of the afternoon. Billy Andrews.
I've used the architects of their downfall already, but it is a case of that again at Turf Moor for Burnley. It's just a long throw down the left-hand side. Kai Havertz is the only one alert to it. Obviously, he can't be offside from a throw, so he runs onto it. He's up against Assignon. Little nutmeg through the legs of the defender. No one really closes him down. James Trafford starts to come, but he's cool, he's calm, he's composed, and he slots it round the keeper to give Arsenal a 5-star performance away at Turf Moor. It's Burnley 0, Arsenal 5.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. Let's talk to Mark Thomas, because Mark has got to give us an update on that red card for Calvin Phillips. I touched on him a couple of moments ago, Mark. He just can't seem to catch a break at the moment. How did this red card happen for Calvin Phillips?
Well, you got two yellow cards in the space of 3 minutes, and the second one was kind of a needless foul on Gibbs White in midfield. There was no real danger. He just sort of took him out arbitrarily. And, second yellow card, and he's off now. And Nottingham Forest are trying to make the most of it. They're going full throttle. They're toying with West Ham down to 10 men, of course. There's only one team that's going to score another goal in this game, and that is Forest. And they seem the most likely to do it. West Ham are very poor. They're just about ready to make a couple of substitutions, which I'll get back to you with in a few minutes. It's still 1-0 to Nottingham Forest after 74 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Let's cross to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium where Paul James is watching Tottenham slightly stodge the place up at home to Wolves. Paul, there's been a chance for the away side and a couple of substitutions to update us with as well.
Yes, first of all, the substitution. Spurs have made 3 substitutions to try to correct this scoreline. Bentancur, Werner and Johnson are on. Sarr, Bissouma and Richarlison are off. The Wolves have also made a substitution. Jean Richner Bellegarde has come on for Sarabia, and it was him with the chance. Bellegarde found himself with all sorts of time in the penalty area, but he delayed on shooting it too late, and Emerson Royal got over and made the challenge. It's still 2-1 to Wolves with 78 minutes gone.
Thank you, Paul. Let's head back up to St James's Park where Newcastle are still a goal down to Bournemouth. 2-1 to the Cherries at the moment. Patrick, news of a couple of substitutions there.
Yeah, a couple of substitutions. Soon after that goal was scored, Burns gone off, Livramento's come on, so they've gone back to a back three now, Newcastle, trying to put Livramento on the left-hand side. It's been okay, and Kluivert's come off, and Alex Scott's come on as well. That means they're mirroring what Newcastle are doing. But it is, they're making loads of changes now, obviously with Bournemouth trying to keep what they've got, and Newcastle trying to get that goal. But there might be, you never know, and counter-attack, they might get caught. With 80 gone, still Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 0. No, Bournemouth 2. That's it, right?
Thank you very much, Patrick. Yeah, 2-1 still to the Cherries at St James's Park. Tom Cooney at Craven Cottage has news of a chance for Fulham to equalise, Tom.
Yeah, Fulham really pushing for this equalise now, and it's that man, Rodrigo Muniz, who's had a couple of chances since we last spoke. The first one, the ball was a recycled ball after a cross would overhit. It was hooked into the penalty area. He was on his own with acres of space. I think he had too much time, and he's tried to throw a bit of a scissor kick at the ball. If he'd just taken his time, you think he had an easy tap in, and then a couple of minutes later, it was a textbook free kick from the training ground. Pereira whipped the ball into the far post. Harry Wilson with his left foot cushioned it into the far post, and Muniz was stealing in, diving at it agonisingly, just couldn't get anything on it, and the ball whistled out for a goal kick. We've just had a couple of changes. Pereira and Tim Remar off. On come Calvin Bassey, the Nigerian, and the ex-Wolves and Barcelona winger Adama Traore as Fulham look for that equaliser. 76 minutes gone, Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom. Squeaky bum times for the away fans, the Aston Villa fans at Craven Cottage. This afternoon, Fulham pressing for an equaliser there. We got an update on Arsenal's 5th goal a couple of moments ago, but Billy Andrews has news of substitutions for either side, Billy.
Yeah, Mikel Arteta, once again, using that luxury of being able to rest his better players. Declan Rice has come off and he's been replaced by Jorginho. And Vincent Kompany, well, he's taken off Assignon and Odobert, and he's swapped them for Vitinha and Brun Larsen. But it's very much an academic thing at the moment. They're just trying to see this game out and try not to concede any more goals. But Arsenal have just over 8 minutes, plus what will be some lengthy added time to try and find that 6th, and dare I say, maybe even a 7th. But it's still 5-0 as Havertz has just been replaced by Emil Smith-Rowe. But at Turf Moor, it's Burnley 0, Arsenal 5.
Thank you very much indeed, Billy. Let's head back to the City Ground where West Ham are a goal down and a man down following Calvin Phillips's red card. Mark, what's the latest there?
Well, they've tried to shake it up. They've made a couple of substitutions, Alex. Antonio's gone off. Of course, he's playing his first game today since November when he got injured playing for Jamaica. So he's run his time out, put in a good shift, but without much avail or support around him. And also, Soufal went off. Johnson and Cornet have come on. They did combine to get a shot together across from Johnson, the shot from Cornet, who just came on. And then just a few seconds ago, Nottingham Forest on the counter-attack, they blasted the ball over from outside the box from Tavares. And there's been another close chance, much the same thing here. Nottingham Forest look very comfortable and causing West Ham trouble, especially down the middle of the park. After 79 minutes, it's still 1-0 to Nottingham Forest.
Thanks, Mark. We now need to swing to North London, where Paul James is reporting for us. Wolverhampton Wanderers possibly should have put this game beyond Tottenham's reach, Paul.
I think certainly that is the case. The corner came in from the right-hand side, and a rather spectacular volley by Mario Lamino on the left corner of the penalty area flew just wide of Vicario's goal. But Wolves themselves have sort of come into the game as the second half has gotten underway, and they look more like scoring right now. With 7 minutes left, it's Tottenham 1, Wolves 2.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. Wolverhampton Wanderers look to be on course for an away victory at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, have spurned a couple of decent chances to put the game beyond Tottenham's reach. Let's have a chat with Patrick Noiret, because there's been a chance at St James's Park. Not good news for Magpies fans, but at least the Cherries weren't able to find the back of the net. Patrick.
Yeah, it's a good chance actually. He looks to me, his ballers on, they're just keeping the ball. They were playing the ball around the edge of the area of Newcastle area, and then Lewis Cook was played in. A wonderful shot was the goalie paved away, and then Tripper had a shot as well, going down the end, and the goalie saved it. So it is end-to-end stuff, but it's interesting to watch to see if Newcastle get caught on the break. It's 84 gone. It's Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 2.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick. I can tell you that at the City grounds, there is an ongoing VAR check as to whether Nottingham Forest should be awarded a penalty at home to West Ham. They lost 3-2 at the City ground to, I can't remember who they lost to now. Was it Tottenham last weekend? No, it wasn't. It was Newcastle United. Of course, it was Nottingham Forest, but they look to be on course to reverse that form and take all 3 points home with them. It doesn't look like the penalty has been awarded, actually. So let's catch up with Tom Cooney, who is at Craven Cottage. And the home side, Tom, really, by the sounds of it, have had a couple of decent opportunities to, at the very least, drag themselves level, if not take the lead.
Yeah, a couple of decent opportunities, decent being the word. They weren't particularly easy chances. It was Harry Wilson that's been involved in both. He's made a big difference since coming on. Not the kind of winger that's going to fly down the outside and beat his man. He picks the ball up on the left-hand side, hesitates and threads a beautiful ball in behind for Alex Iwobi, who takes a touch, and he's one-on-one, but it just takes him a little bit wide onto his weaker foot, and the shot is saved by Martin as the ball comes back out to Harry Wilson, who rifled the shot just past the opposite post. So it's 81 minutes gone. It remains Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2. Couple of changes for Aston Villa. Bailey and Moreno have gone off. Diaby and Digne have come on as Villa try and see out this win.
Thanks, Tom. Let's go back to the City ground, where we just mentioned there was a VAR check for a penalty to Nottingham Forest. Sounds like it hasn't been awarded in the end, has it, Mark Thomas?
No, not from what I can see here. It was a little, well, you know, I've seen them given for this. Nico Williams dribbled in from the right-hand side into the box, and Cornet just caught him on the back of his boot. It was enough contact for him to go down, and, you know, albeit a bit theatrical, but the referee deemed that there wasn't enough contact, and the penalty, after a long VAR check, was not given. Nottingham Forest have just brought on their captain from last week, who they put on the bench today. That's Ryan, and he's going to come in to bolster up the midfield a little bit there, see what he can do. But at 83 minutes gone, it's still Forest 1, West Ham 0.
Thanks, Mark. Let's catch up with Paul James, because there's been a double substitution for Tottenham in their bid to pull themselves level at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yes, last roll of the dice for Ange Postecoglou brings on his 4th and 5th substitution, which is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Giovanni Lo Celso. James Maddison and Emerson Royal make way. Wolves are about ready to make another substitution themselves, but this is the last 4 minutes now, and Spurs are still behind Wolves 2-1, 4 minutes left.
Thanks very much indeed, Paul James, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for us this afternoon. Tottenham desperately bidding to get themselves back on level terms. We've only got 2 minutes of normal time left to do that in. Let's have a look at the odds on nairabet.com in the Premier League. The game I just mentioned, Spurs 1, Wolves 2. If you do fancy Spurs to turn this around and take 3 points home with them this afternoon, it's 17.0. Plenty of value there. 4.33 is the draw. 1.3 though is a Wolves win. Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2 is the latest from Craven Cottage. 34.0 if you fancy a Fulham victory there. 6.0 is the draw, and 1.17 for a Villa win. Burnley against Arsenal, perhaps unsurprisingly, it's 101.0 for the home win. 5-0 down at the moment, Burnley. There has been a goal, meanwhile, at the City Ground.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And perhaps unsurprisingly, given that they were already a goal up and their opponents were down to 10 men, Nottingham Forest have got their second goal of the afternoon and are cruising to victory at home to West Ham. Let's see if I can. All the betting still suspended on nairabet.com. Don't forget that all the odds are, of course, subject to change. But at St James's Park, it's Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 2. 21.0 if you fancy a home victory, despite currently being 1 goal behind. 5.0 is the draw. 1.25 is the away win for Bournemouth. Unfortunately for Forest fans, though, their second goal has been disallowed. It's still 1-0 at the City Ground. 10 minutes of added time at Turf Moor. Plenty of news to keep bringing you. But before we bring you any of those updates, let's chat to Matt Smith, who has got all of the team news. I've already given our wonderful listeners the lineups. But Matt, you have got the full team news for us for our highlight fixture today, really. Manchester City at home to Chelsea, kicking off in about 40 minutes' time.
Good evening, Alex. Good evening, Football Live listeners. Manchester City do not have Jack Grealish in the squad after he was withdrawn against Copenhagen with a muscle problem, while Josko Gvardiol remains out with an ankle injury. Chelsea are without Thiago Silva, who was forced off against Crystal Palace because of a groin injury, who is added to the long list of injuries for Chelsea. It's a game we're perhaps used to seeing at the very top of the league. City are currently second and strong title contenders. They're in the race, whereas Chelsea are simply battling to stay in the top half of the table. It's Manchester City versus Chelsea, kicking off in just over half an hour.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. I can announce there has been a goal at St James's Park.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
The goals are absolutely flying in on Football Live this afternoon, and Newcastle have managed to draw themselves level at home to Bournemouth. It's Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 2. Excellent news for Magpie fans. Just remind you of the other scores on the doors. Matt Ritchie got Newcastle second. By the way, it's currently Burnley 0, Arsenal 5 deep into added time at the end of the game. Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2 at Craven Cottage. As I just mentioned, Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 2, thanks to former Cherry Matt Ritchie equalising for his side, Newcastle United. His new side spent many successful years at Bournemouth, but has got one back for his current employers against his old side. Nottingham Forest 1, West Ham 0. Forest have just had a second goal disallowed by VAR, and West Ham down to 10 men after who was it who got so Calvin Phillips received a red card for West Ham. Tottenham 1, Wolverhampton 2 is the latest score. Let's go to Patrick Noiret, who was at St James's Park and has got all the news from Matt Ritchie's equaliser. Patrick.
Yeah, it's a very, very good goal. What happened, Newcastle kept the ball, they moved the ball, but were patient, and the ball came over to Guimaraes on the left-hand side. He looked up, it saw the run of Matt Ritchie in the box, and he just basically floated the ball in, and Matt Ritchie got the header in. So we've, 92 plus extra time left. It is Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 2. Are we going to have a winner? We'll have to wait and see.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Just ahead of our 6:30 kickoff between Manchester City and Chelsea. Just going to give you the rundown of the latest odds on that match. Pre-game odds on nairabet.com, of course, all subject to change. A Manchester City victory is just 1.36 in such fine fettle at the moment. Our Pep Guardiola's side, a draw is 5.5 and a Chelsea win is 7.5. So not a huge amount to choose between a draw or a Chelsea win in the grand scheme of things. Anytime goal scorer market is an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting one. It's 3.8 if you fancy Nicholas Jackson to score at any point in the game. Julian Alvarez is starting 2.75 if you want to have a little bet on him. Erling Haaland only 1.62. Let's go back to Craven Cottage and have a catch up with Tom Cooney, because there's been a chance for Muniz to get his second of the game and get his side level, Tom.
Yeah, Fulham pushing. They've not got long left, and it's Muniz again that nearly brings them level. He's a fantastic player, by the way. The first chance I've really had to watch him for a full game. It's barely even a chance. The ball is played in behind. It looks like it's a lost cause, and Longley is going to deal with it. But Muniz just uses his body to get touch tight with him, fights his way in front, and she gets to the ball, but he can't get enough on it. He drags it wide of the post, and it's another chance spurned. We're into stoppage time now. I'm just waiting for the board to go up. It's Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2 still.
Thank you very much, Tom. Just a reminder, you are listening to Football Live on Brila FM, 88.9 FM in Nigeria, on the app, and of course online on Brila.net. Scores on the doors in the Premier League. It's Burnley 0, Arsenal 5, Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2, Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 2, Nottingham Forest 1, West Ham 0, and Tottenham Hotspur 1, Wolverhampton 2. We will leave you there just for the time being, though. Unfortunately, we're going to have to hand back to Joseph and Victor for the next 25 minutes. Not unfortunately, I suppose, fortunately, as far as they are concerned. But all the action is still very much underway in the Premier League. This is Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live, powered by NairaBet. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live, live and exclusive on Brila FM.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Alex Guilford.
Yes, welcome back to Football Live with me, Alex Guilford. Thank you very much to Joseph and Victor for manning the ship for the last 25 minutes or so. Thank you for joining us. If you've only just joined us, where have you been? 5 bumper games in the Premier League this afternoon, not least at St James's Park, where Newcastle United levelled late on to take 1 point away this Saturday afternoon. Bournemouth went ahead twice in this game, and Patrick Noiret is kindly stuck around for the post-show news. Patrick, give us your thoughts and feelings on the game that unfolded at St James's Park this afternoon. It was exciting stuff.
Yeah, it was exciting. For the neutral, it was a really great game. The first half, nothing much in it, although Newcastle had all the possession but didn't create any chances, big chances. Solanke had more chances to score 3 goals. The second half, a different story. On 51 minutes, Newcastle were passing the ball around the back, and Solanke was chasing the ball down. He chased the goalkeeper slipped, and he had a tap in, made it 1-0 on 51. And then they were still at it, trying to get another goal. On 54 minutes, Newcastle had a free kick. They took the free kick, but it was alleged that someone was holding the shirt in the box. So the referee took 4 minutes to decide. VAR took 2 minutes. Then the referee looked at the monitor and decided, right, penalty. Gordon stepped up, made it 1-1. And then they went again. And on the 69th minute, Newcastle lost the ball in the halfway line. 3 passes into their half. Semenyo got hold of it, and a wonderful ball pass. He went past Burns and then shot and made it 2-1 to Bournemouth. And then again, you had both sides trying to win the game. And on the 90th minute, Damaris found Richie, who was running into the box. A wonderful goal, made it 2-2. I would say in all, it's a fair result with Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 2.
Thank you very much indeed for your fine work this afternoon, Patrick Noiret, bringing you the full-time result there at St James's Park. Just to remind you, Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 2. Another entertaining game at the City Ground this afternoon, but not quite as good news for the away side in that fixture as there was at St James's Park. West Ham United in a pretty rotten run of form, losing 6-0 to Arsenal last weekend and losing to Nottingham Forest at the City Ground. Today went down 2-0. Calvin Phillips got a red card in that game. Mark Thomas was there for us. Mark, massive thanks to you as well for sticking around almost 45 minutes after your game came to an end. Hopefully it was worth it. Another entertaining game here at the City Ground. Tell us more.
Yes, a good game and a good cup of tea here while I've been waiting too. Forest, by far the best team today. Good value for that 2-0 win. The goals late in each half, of course. Awoniyi, the Nigerian, slotted home calmly after he turned the defender 6 minutes into additional time in the first half. And then Callum Hudson-Odoi, what a game he had today. He's in sizzling form, by the way. He got his third goal in 3 games in the 4th minute of added time in the second half. He's been tormenting those defenders all day long, as did Nico Williams, who was marvellous on the right-hand side. A glorious assist for him for that second goal. Key moment, as you mentioned, Alex, 71 minutes. Calvin Phillips getting sent off for a second yellow card in 3 minutes. Nottingham Forest, first win of 2024, but for West Ham, it's more pressure surely on David Moyes this week. Finished here, the worthy winners, Nottingham Forest 2, West Ham 0.
Thank you very much, Mark Thomas. Fine work from Mark this afternoon at the City Ground, and we greatly appreciate, as I mentioned before, you sticking around. So it's 25 minutes past 6, and that, of course, means that the countdown is very much on for our big one this afternoon. Manchester City host Chelsea in a little under 5 minutes' time. And our senior reporter, Matt Smith, is at the Etihad Stadium. Matt, very good afternoon to you. What is the latest from the Etihad Stadium?
Well, the latest is it's absolutely chucking it down, Alex. It's terrible weather. Obviously, they've been warming up in the past sort of half an hour, absolutely drenched. So they're going to have to obviously change. I'd argue change boots, change socks, change shorts, all that sort of stuff. So they're nice and dry for 2 minutes into the game to be soaked again. It's a big game, I would say. It's a big game for Chelsea. Arguably a bigger game for City because they want to try and keep themselves in the title race. But Chelsea desperately need points to get them into those European spots, and they're struggling. But they're in a little bit of an upward trajectory, as you'd say. Manchester City are in fantastic form. City are looking for a 12th consecutive win in all competitions and a 7th successive league victory. So all the signs point to City winning this game. But I tell you now, Chelsea will not be ruled out of this one. I can't say a word on what the result will be. It's around 4 minutes till kick-off. Manchester City versus Chelsea. I cannot wait, Alex.
Let's stick with you just for a second, Matt. I appreciate that was about the most vague way I could have possibly asked you what was going on in the stadium, given that the game hasn't even started yet. It is perhaps a slightly sad state of affairs, I think, to see Chelsea, who recently have enjoyed so much success. I was looking at the odds here on nairabet.com. They are 8.0 for the win here today. You say you probably wouldn't count them out, but I think speaking to lots of Chelsea fans before the game, as I was fortunate enough to do this week, they really are not particularly optimistic about their prospects this afternoon, whereas previously, their fans would be going to the Etihad Stadium really optimistic of getting a point, if not all 3. Who do you think is going to be a key man for Chelsea this afternoon if they are to take anything with them back down to southwest London?
I think the key players you've got to look at, Alex, really is, the likes of Cole Palmer. It's his first appearance at the Etihad since leaving City. He's been instrumental in a lot of the attacks going forward. He's been a star player. He's playing with confidence. He's oozing confidence, is the Englishman, almost to the point where he's almost pushing Phil Foden out of a spot in the England team. He's getting considered by Southgate. So it's a really good opportunity for the likes of Palmer and maybe Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher started 23 of the 24 Premier League games that Chelsea have had. So those two players really, seem to be instrumental in Chelsea's uprise, really. And, they're 11th. They want to try and get themselves back into that top half. You look at Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez to maybe sort something out going forward and a little bit of defensive work, but they've gone a little bit under the radar a little bit at the moment. They're not showing their price tag, that's for sure.
Yes, thank you very much, Matt Smith. It's a fascinating game coming up at the Etihad Stadium at 6:30. We'll go back to Matt in a couple of minutes' time once the game is underway there. Absolutely fascinating contest, this one. You just don't know, really, do you, which Chelsea side are going to turn up. Their form seems to peak and trough fairly significantly, but it is a young team. They have got a young squad of largely new players. Nicholas Jackson starts up front for them this afternoon. You can't exactly guarantee goals from him. Christopher Nkunku, good news for Chelsea fans, is on the bench, but it's not all about the Premier League this afternoon, although it's perhaps mostly about it. We are also bringing you live updates from the Bundesliga and La Liga. And let's go to Leipzig, where Duka Dobma is at the game between RB Leipzig and Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Bundesliga this afternoon. A very good evening to you, Duka. What's the team news there?
Good afternoon from the Red Bull Arena. Yes, some fascinating team news, I must say, for both sides. RB Leipzig, who have now a massive opportunity to close in on those Champions League spaces with Dortmund dropping points this afternoon. They make the two changes. Benjamin Sesko is dropped to the bench, seeing Yusuf Poulsen come in, and Haidara makes his return to the side with Kevin Campbell being dropped. But a big change for Borussia Mönchengladbach is Alisson Plea, their top goal scorer of the season, isn't even in the squad, and Jordan Sabachu replaces him. And Borussia Mönchengladbach desperately need 3 points to get themselves out of that relegation fight. But minutes away from kickoff here at the Red Bull Arena.
Thank you very much, Duka. Let's quickly cross to the lovely port of Vigo, where Alec Hughes is in town. You lucky man, Alec. And not only are you in town, but Barcelona are in town as well. What's the team news in the build-up to this one, Alec?
Yeah, lucky me indeed. Yeah, there's one change here for Barcelona after last week's 3-3 draw with Granada. Barca manager Xavi shuffles the pack with Vitor Roque in for Ilkay Gundogan. Meanwhile, Celta boss Rafa Benitez makes 3 changes to his side, and it's Starfeld in for Nunez at the back, Allende is in for Javier Manquillo, and Captain Iago Aspas is back into the side to replace Gielson. So we're about to kick off here in Galicia, in the Abanca Balaidos, and it's going to be quite a fascinating game. Both sides really need the points. Vigo facing into a relegation battle, and Barca 10 points off leaders Real Madrid. So I'm expecting a good one here in Vigo. It's going to kick off any moment now.
Thank you very much indeed, Alec. Looking forward to developments in this one. Celta Vigo currently 3 points clear of the relegation zone in La Liga at the moment. They probably, look at the squad of players they've got, they probably should be a little bit higher up than that. They've got the Norwegian striker Jørgen Strand Larsen. He's got a goal or 2 in him. They've got the Ivorian winger, Jonathan Bamba. I don't think he's certainly not in the starting 11, but he might be back in the squad following his side's success at the Africa Cup of Nations last weekend. Ghanaian defender Joseph Adu is in their squad. And the American defender Luca De La Torre, who's definitely one to watch, I think. He's playing in a much more advanced role under Rafa Benitez this season. He's really a central midfielder, but he's been playing almost in the left wing position. He's got a couple of goals to his name as well, but it's great to see him in the side, and it's great to see their long-standing captain and talisman Iago Aspas as well. Kickoff has got underway at the Etihad Stadium and also in Leipzig, and let's actually cross to Duka Dobma at the Red Bull Arena, because there's been an early chance for the home side, Duka.
Yeah, a massive chance to go 1-0 up for Leipzig, and it's Yusuf Poulsen, the man who's come in for Benjamin Sesko today. He finds himself 1-on-1, and the defender slides in. I think it was Ikatura who slid in. He seems to be on the floor injured now, but he slid in vitally to get a block in. But it was a great ball from Danny Olmo to set through Yusuf Poulsen. It could easily have been 1-0 to Leipzig in the early stages of this game. But still here at the Red Bull Arena, just 3 minutes gone, still 0-0.
Thanks very much, Duka. Let's head up to the Etihad Stadium in Manchester, where the game between Manchester City and Chelsea has barely been underway for a matter of seconds. There's been an early chance, an early warning sign for Chelsea, because an early chance for Manchester City, Matt Smith.
Yeah, and it's the unsung hero, really, Julian Alvarez, who has the resulting shot, but it's a great bit of play from City. They're sort of, pressing Chelsea in Chelsea's own half. It's Moise Caicedo who gives the ball away. Sterling's a little bit on his heels, so he's not sharp to get the ball. It's nicked off him, and Haaland has the ball. He's looking for an outlet with his facing, he's got his back to the goal, and it's quite a fast set back to Julian Alvarez, and Julian Alvarez has got the quick feet to sort his feet out, and he tries to curl it round the goal, and it's maybe a foot wide, but like you said, it is early warning signs for Chelsea. 2 minutes in, Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0.
Let's stick with you for just a moment then, Matt, because it is interesting to see Pep Guardiola start with Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland up front. Is that, do you think, a potential sign that he thinks that Chelsea are there for the taking this afternoon?
Yeah, it certainly is a real attacking lineup. I think that he can, Rodri. I said at the start that Rodri is key. He's instrumental in breaking attacks down, and Pep Guardiola obviously trusts the Spaniard enough to just leave him on his own. I think Kevin De Bruyne maybe, in terms of as he's getting older, maybe has the legs to drop back and maybe guard Rodri a little bit better. But Julian Alvarez will certainly join in the attacks, and so will the likes of Doku and the likes of Phil Foden will play as well. So he really is gunning for it, and they've had an early chance obviously early in this game. Chelsea are just sitting back and soaking up the pressure, but again, if you're a betting man, you may be thinking that City are going to get a goal in this opening 15 minutes, I'd say, but 3 minutes in, City 0, Chelsea 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith. Let's stick with that game for the time being. Jeremy Doku starting on the left wing for Manchester City this evening. In the absence of Jack Grealish, Bernardo Silva is also out as well. Let's just have a listen to what Pep Guardiola had to say before this afternoon's fixture about the absences or prospective absences of those two players.
Bernardo has a big knock in his ankle, and I didn't speak with the doctor, but it looks like muscular jack, but it's a pity because the last few days his mood and training session much better, and he was playing really good. He helped us to play in the right tempo against that teams, and especially in the first leg in 80 finals. You cannot just play so slow, but you cannot play so fast. In the teams like incredible, well organized. You have to find the right moment, right tempo, and Jack helped us a lot. But yeah, hopefully he can recover quick. He felt it, I think, when we go on the grass and started to complain. I said, there's something muscular. The players feel it immediately.
Interesting stuff there from Pep Guardiola. Bernardo Silva fit enough to make the substitutes bench for Manchester City this evening, but Jack Grealish is still absent. They've kicked off, I should say, in Vigo, at the port of Vigo, between Celta and Barcelona. That game is underway now. Just to remind you, we are bringing you live updates from Manchester City against Chelsea. 5 minutes or so played there already, and also the Bundesliga game between RB Leipzig, Borussia Mönchengladbach, and the game in La Liga between Celta Vigo and Barcelona. Let's head up to the Etihad Stadium and just appreciate we've just had a chat with Matt Smith, but I'm just interested what the ebb and flow of the game looks like at the moment. Matt, any positive signs for Chelsea?
I'll be very honest with you. The answer is no. City have been all over Chelsea in the opening 5 minutes. They're again, like I said, oozing confidence. We spoke about it before, that who's going to be alongside Rodri. It is Manuel Akanji who's stepping up out of the two centre-half sort of positions and playing alongside Rodri, while that gives De Bruyne and Alvarez the chance to go forward. But goodness me, it has been all City. Chelsea can't get a sniff. They're just defending, which is good for now. But we know that City aren't great defending the counter-attack, so maybe that's what Pochettino is waiting for a little a chink in the armour as such. 6 minutes in, City 0, Chelsea 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. Just to remind you what happened earlier on the show, well, before the show even started this afternoon, Liverpool won 4-1 at Brentford at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Goals from Darwin Núñez, Alexis McAllister, Mohamed Salah and Cody Gakpo were answered only by Brentford's talisman Ivan Toney. Then Arsenal won 5-0 away at Burnley, backing up last weekend's 6-0 result at West Ham with another emphatic victory. Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2 was the final score at Craven Cottage. Fulham just couldn't quite toe their way back into the game. Rodrigo Muniz got one back for them after Ollie Watkins had scored a brace at St James's Park. It finished Newcastle United 2, Bournemouth 2. Bournemouth twice taking the lead and Newcastle equalising through former Cherry Matt Ritchie, I should say, in injury time. Nottingham Forest 2, West Ham United 0 was a final result at the City Ground. Taiwo Awoniyi opening the scoring deep in first half injury time before Callum Hudson-Odoi added some gloss in second half injury time. Those goals either side of 2 yellow cards in 3 minutes for Calvin Phillips, resulting in his early Bath. Tottenham Hotspur lost 2-1 at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. 2 goals from João Gomez after a magnificent goal from Dejan Kulusevski had put Tottenham Hotspur level. There's been a half chance for Chelsea, perhaps surprisingly, at the Etihad Stadium. So let's get the latest on that from Matt Smith.
Yeah, like I said, a little bit against the flow of the play. Chelsea, a great bit of play from Cole Palmer to get a nice incisive pass into the feet of Enzo Fernandez. And Enzo Fernandez with just a little cheeky right foot, little almost reverse pass into the path of Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher's got a great opportunity to put it right across the 6-yard box for an oncoming Nicholas Jackson. And the ball that Gallagher puts in is very soft and it's almost behind the striker, and it is cleared away by City. But it's those sort of chances that are they're going to be few and far between for Chelsea. So they're going to have to start taking those chances. City have got a 45.9 expected goal in the Premier League this season, and Chelsea have got 45.8. So it's almost identical expected goals in the Premier League, but City have scored 15 more goals. Chelsea have got to take these chances. 9 minutes in, City 0, Chelsea 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. Absolutely extraordinary, that minor discrepancy between the two sides' XG. But the actual reality of the goals scored by either side, I mean, the difference is just unbelievable, isn't it? Still, it's perhaps a sign that Chelsea's fortunes should maybe start to improve at some point. The underlying numbers do tend to eventually even themselves out over a full season, or certainly over a couple of seasons. So maybe there are positive signs for Chelsea. In fact, we're going to go back to Matt Smith, because Matt, just as we were talking up the Chelsea's chances of getting a goal in that game, Man City had a chance at the other end.
Yeah, it was a shot from Julian Alvarez. It was blocked initially, headed directly upwards by Enzo Fernandez, so the ball's really high in the sky, and Petrovic comes out to try and punch it. He's maybe nudged a little bit by Manuel Akanji. The referee didn't give a foul, but just a little bit of a sort of a floppy wrist by the goalkeeper, Chelsea's goalkeeper, and it does come out to a City player, but it's only a half attempt, and Petrovic can collect, and it was a little bit of a shaky moment for the Chelsea goalkeeper. But 10 minutes in, City are all over Chelsea with their only half chance. 10 minutes in, Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0.
Superb stuff. Thank you ever so much, Matt. We will get the full-time report from Billy Andrews, who was at Turf Moor for Arsenal's emphatic victory there in just a few moments. But before we do that, let's go back to Duka Dobma at the Red Bull Stadium in Leipzig. Duka, there's been a yellow card for the away side.
Yeah, a yellow card for Nico Evaldi, one of the centre-backs for Borussia Mönchengladbach this afternoon. Definitely a yellow card. Xavi Simons, a player who's just been constantly impressing me in an RB Leipzig shirt this season, ran through the midfield and was running past the defence, and Nico Evaldi had to just take that tactical yellow card, but getting it so early in the game, he's going to be running on the tightrope, and you can see the likes of Yusuf Poulsen and Louis Openda pinning themselves onto Evaldi and try get him sent off. He'll be running on the tightrope for the rest of the game, but still 0-0 here at the Red Bull Arena.
Thank you very much indeed, Duka. In fact, according to my monitor here in London, no sooner has Duka handed back to us, but there's been a goal at the Red Bull Arena.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it has gone the way of the home side, RB Leipzig. They find themselves a 0 up inside the quarter of an hour mark at the Red Bull Arena. We'll be crossing back to Duka in just a few moments' time. But before we do that, in fact, let's go back to Duka now, and Duka, you can give us an update on that goal.
And it is that man who I've just been speaking about, Xavi Simons, and my word, is it an incredible goal on the volley. Yusuf Poulsen sets it up brilliant for him. It's a brilliant bit of football by RB Leipzig, and just about 20 yards out of goal, and Xavi Simons just hits it on the volley. The goalkeeper is stranded and goes into the top corner, and it's a brilliant finish, and RB Leipzig find themselves 1-0 up here in the opening 15 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed. An exciting young prospect, isn't he? Xavi Simons was at Barcelona's academy, broke through into PSG's first team, and now really excelling on loan at RB Leipzig. There's been a chance for Barcelona in Vigo. So before we get the match report from Billy Andrews on the game at Turf Moor, let's have a quick catch up with Alec Hughes.
Yeah, decent chance here for Barcelona, and it was their two young forwards that combined. It was first Vitor Roque who took down a high ball, and he fed it out to Yamin Lamal, who cut inside on his left-hand side and forced a really good save from Guaita. Both teams had been feeling each other out until that moment, and Celta are certainly putting themselves about. Maybe they feel some of the rough stuff will help them get a result today. Star striker Jorgen Strand Larsen, maybe a little lucky not to pick up a booking with a clumsy stamp on Lamal's foot earlier on. That's the best chance that they've had so far through Lamal. So far, all square in Vigo. It's 0-0. Vigo 0, Barcelona 0 after 10 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed, Alec. From sunny Vigo to rainy Manchester, Matt Smith has an update for us. Erling Haaland has had two opportunities to put his side ahead, Matt.
Yeah, the first one was a little bit of a half chance, but I'll tell you now, about 30 seconds ago, Haaland has had the biggest chance of the game so far, and I'd argue probably if it stays 0-0, the biggest chance of this entire game. Julian Alvarez comes out wide, receives the ball, and he just lofts it into the Chelsea box. You know, one of those little dinky sort of crosses. And Erling Haaland, we know he rises like a salmon, and he did so again this time. He rises above, I think it's Disasi, but this time his header goes over the bar. The old Haaland that we know from last season would have put that away. It's a big chance that goes a-begging. 14 minutes in, City 0, Chelsea 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. Disappointing news for fantasy football players who, like me, triple captained Erling Haaland this game week, to hear that he's missed a fairly easy chance by his lofty standards. Just to remind you, elsewhere in the Premier League this afternoon, Liverpool beat Brentford 4-1 away, so they now sit on 57 points. Arsenal beat Burnley 5-0 at Turf Moor, so they now sit on 55 points, 2 points ahead of Manchester City and 2 points behind first place Liverpool. Billy Andrews was at Turf Moor for us this afternoon, and we have got this dispatch report from him for you to listen to. This was his full-time report sent a couple of moments ago.
Captain Martin Odegaard put the away side 1-0 up after he was found by Gabriel Martinelli's cross, one touch to flick it up and a volley past James Trafford. It was all Arsenal, and just before half-time, Trossard was taken out in the Burnley box and Bukayo Saka arrowed the penalty into the bottom right. The second half started even faster. It took just 2 minutes for Saka to get his second of the game, powering the ball over Trafford from the right-hand side of the box. Leandro Trossard got in on the action following another fast break from the Gunners, firing in with his left foot following a cute touch to him from Kai Havertz. And Havertz wrapped up a perfect afternoon for Arsenal, getting on the end of a quick throw-in, nutmegging Delcroix and slotting the ball past Trafford. Arsenal now to second and Burnley down in 19th. It finished 5-0 to the away side at Turf Moor.
Yes, emphatic performance there from Mikel Arteta's side at Turf Moor. This afternoon, we are going to get the full-time report from Arsenal's arch rivals Tottenham Hotspur. They lost 2-1 at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers earlier. We'll get Paul James's report in a second once we've crossed to Alec Jones in Vigo, because we're just talking about a chance for Barcelona. Alec, chance now for the home side Celta.
Yeah, it was a really, really decent chance for Jurgen Strand Larsen, the man that that Vigo fans would be hoping it would fall to. It came from some really good work down the right-hand side from Celta Vigo legend Iago Aspas. He worked his way down the right-hand side, cut it back, it kind of bounced up at an uncomfortable height for Strand Larsen, but a kind of chance that he would probably expect to take. But it was a smart enough save from Ter Stegen. But Celta really showing Barcelona that they can't take this game lightly. And so 14 minutes gone here in the beautiful city of Vigo. It's Celta Vigo 0, Barcelona 0.
Thank you very much, Alec. And from Spain to Germany, Duka Dobma is at the Red Bull Arena. RB Leipzig, you were just telling us a couple of moments ago, Duka had put themselves 1-0 up courtesy of Xavi Simons' opener. They've just squandered an excellent opportunity to double their lead.
Yeah, and it was Xavi Simons again. It was Luis Openda found himself in acres of space on the right-hand side, pulled the ball back to Yusuf Poulsen, who couldn't quite get the ball out of his feet, but he managed to lay it off to Xavi Simons, who's inside the area, and you think you just got to slot it in the corners, and he doesn't. He hits it straight at the goalkeeper, Nicholas, and it's a comfortable save in the end, but a massive, massive chance for Leipzig to double their lead. But still, 1-0 to Leipzig at the Red Bull Arena here.
Thank you very much, Duka. We are going to get Paul James's full-time report from Tottenham's loss at home to Wolves in a few moments' time. But first, we're going to cross back to the Etihad Stadium once again. I was going to say it's a slightly uncharacteristic mistake here from the goalkeeper Ederson, although he did get himself in hot water, I think, at least once or twice in midweek and possibly as well last weekend. Matt, what is the goalkeeper up to now?
Yeah, it's a similar sort of action as what we saw midweek and last week. Obviously, we know City love to use Ederson as almost like a sweeper keeper. He loves to play out from the back, and he's doing so in this instance here. And he's got the ball off of Nathan Ake, and he just takes it on his left foot and then slips over. And Nicholas Jackson is on him like a hound. It's it's a little half chance. The chance came to nothing, but Chelsea are just starting to tap on that door. They're not knocking on the door, but they're tapping on it. Those little mistakes here and there from the City defenders or the City goalkeeper or Rodri maybe not tracking back. That could be a let-in for Chelsea. It's still 90 minutes in though. It is all City, but it's City 0, Chelsea 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith. Tapping on the door then, Chelsea, possibly. I think Nicholas Jackson, just his rotten luck just never seems to end, does it? Possibly could have done a little bit better with that opportunity there. Then I've had a couple of friends who are Chelsea fans say that he almost just looks like one of the youth team players who's just sort of been thrown into the senior squad. He just doesn't seem composed on the ball. The kind of composure you need from a centre forward in the Premier League just seems to be lacking at the crucial moments. Although Ederson in the Manchester City goal displaying the kind of Brazilian flair we all enjoy watching, although heart in mouth stuff if you are a Manchester City fan. So just to remind you of these scores earlier this afternoon, we are going to get a full-time report now from Paul James, who sent this one in. He was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to watch Tottenham lose 2-1 at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers, thanks to 2 goals from João Gomez. Here is Paul's full-time report.
Full time here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and Wolverhampton Wanderers have completed the double over Tottenham Hotspur, winning 2-1 today. Goals from João Gomez and on 42 minutes. Dejan Kulusevski equalised 46 seconds into the second half, but João Gomez gave Wolverhampton the Wanderers the lead again. And despite chances from Semedo, Sarabia and Gomez, Wanderers were not able to double their lead. It finishes here, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2.
Paul James there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium about half an hour or so ago. Just remind you that game finished 2-1 to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Disappointing stuff for our wonderful producer here, Producer John, who is a Tottenham fan. I'm desperately sorry about that, John. Let's get our final report of the afternoon from the entertaining game at Craven Cottage, which saw Aston Villa squeeze past Fulham 2-1 in the end. A game full of incident. Here is Tom Cooney's full-time report.
Full-time here in West London. It's finished Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2. Villa victorious in a tightly contested game here at Craven Cottage. They took the lead deservedly midway through the first half. Ollie Watkins capitalising on a mix-up in the Fulham defence. They got their second 10 minutes into the second half. Ollie Watkins again finding space and finishing well into the bottom corner. Fulham, you have to say, were much better in the second half. They pulled one back to Rodrigo Muniz just after the hour. They gave it everything in the closing stages. Plenty of half chances. The most clear-cut falling to Adama Traore, who fired straight at Martinez from 8 yards out. It doesn't get much easier for Fulham. They travel to Old Trafford next week to face a resurgent Manchester United. Villa, well, they'll be relieved to get out of here with 3 points. They'll be hoping this can reignite their charge for Champions League football. Full time here at Craven Cottage. It's finished Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2.
Excellent stuff. Tom Cooney's full-time report from Fulham's 2-1 loss at home to Aston Villa this afternoon. We are going to cross back to the Etihad Stadium for the big one this afternoon, where Nicholas Jackson has missed an absolutely massive chance just as his side are just starting to get a toe into this game. Tell us all about it, Matt Smith.
Well, I spoke about Haaland missing a massive chance, the chance of the game so far. Nicholas Jackson, it's twofold. It's a great bit of interplay between Chelsea's midfielders. I believe it's Cole Palmer that plays a fantastic through ball between Ake and Ruben Diaz to an on-running Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher's got acres in front of him. Nicholas Jackson is gunning through the middle. Apologies. It's Malo Gusto who plays the ball across to Nicholas Jackson. Jackson has one touch on his left foot. Ederson comes out and just smothers the ball. It's really, really poor from Nicholas Jackson. That should be 1-0 Chelsea, but it still remains Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news. This is Football Live.
Football Live. Football's never sounded so good on Brila FM every Saturday and Sunday.
Tomorrow on Football Live, Manchester United take their superb recent form to Luton Town. Follow all of the action from Kenilworth Road right here on Football Live from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Also on the show, Brighton go to bottom club Sheffield United and Bayern Munich look to close the gap on Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga with a trip to Bochum. Join myself, Barry Swain, tomorrow afternoon from 3 on Football Live, exclusive to Brila FM.
Hello and a very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Absolute screamer.
Banging form into dreamland.
Oh my God, they were crying. What was he doing in the box?
Check my phone, mate. He's not in there.
He looks thoroughly disgusted.
They've been absolutely brilliant. That's proper.
So much to tell you about.
So much going on.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
In the Premier League, you just never know.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM. If you're betting on sports this week, why not make your money go further? Sign up to NairaBet for 11 days of risk-free betting. If your bet loses, you will get your stake back as a free bet up to 2,000 Naira. All you need to do is register a new account with NairaBet today and qualify to get up to 22,000 Naira in free bets. Visit www.nairabet.com/bonus for more information. General and free bet terms apply. Must be over 18. Must be KYC approved. Must place a qualifying bet. Bet must include football, tennis or basketball markets. Please gamble responsibly.
Welcome back to Football Live
on
Brila FM.
On Brila FM. Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Alex Guilford.
Yes, this is indeed Football Live with me, Alex Guilford. Just to remind you that we have got another bumper edition of the show for you tomorrow. I think the sting I just listened to said that Barry Swain will be presenting the show tomorrow. Barry was initially planned, but it's going to be Richard Parr. You're going to be in his capable hands instead from 3 p.m. until 7:30. So more or less exactly the same time as we are doing the show from and until today. Same time, same place tomorrow. Although actually 15 minutes delayed tomorrow. They will be covering Sheffield United against Brighton. Then Luton against Manchester United in the Premier League. Bochum at home to Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. Udinese against Cagliari in Serie A. Ajax against Nek Nijmegen in the Eredivisie. Freiburg against Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga. And Granada against Almeria in La Liga. So very much a show traversing the length and breadth of Europe tomorrow, so do not miss out on that. I can tell you that at the Etihad Stadium there is a VAR check ongoing at the moment, checking for a penalty for Manchester City. So City could be about to be awarded, not given actually is the latest update there. We'll cross for an update on what exactly happened there with Matt Smith. Matt, what have you got for us?
Well, the referee didn't go to the screen, but he certainly had his earpiece in, and people were telling him to, maybe look at it, maybe not. I would argue that they should have looked at it. Ben Chilwell is from a corner, a Manchester City corner, and it swung in, and Haaland isn't anywhere near the ball, but Ben Chilwell is obviously not too happy on letting Haaland get in on goal, 6-yard box area, and so he's got his arm around him, and Haaland is a big guy. We don't expect him to go down like a sack of spuds, but he does so, and I think I've seen them given, Alex, I'll be honest. I'm surprised the referee didn't even have a little check of it, but Haaland was furious, but it's been waved off. It's 28 minutes played. Chelsea just slowly starting to come into it. City dropped off their intensity in the past 5 to 10 minutes, but it is still 28 minutes in. Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith. No penalty for Manchester City. Then let's cross over to the Bundesliga and catch up with Duka Dobma, because RB Leipzig have been forced into an early change. Slightly disappointing news for them. Duka, what's the latest?
So it was a centre-half, Lucas Klostermann, who's been so important for RB Leipzig throughout the years. He's gone off injured, which is a real shame, especially in the back end of the season when they're chasing those Champions League spots. But they've definitely got covered there. Mohamed Simakan coming on, who is a very, very good defender in himself. So they've got options there. But Mönchengladbach are growing back into the game. Xaver Schlager for RB Leipzig has picked himself up a yellow. And Mönchengladbach are starting to find the gaps in the Leipzig defence. So it's really game on here at the Red Bull Arena, but after half an hour, it's still Red Bull Leipzig 1, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0.
Thank you very much, Alec. Alec Hughes there at the Red Bull Arena in Leipzig, just to bring you updates from across Europe. Sorry, that was Duka, not Alec. We're going to go to Alec Hughes in just a second for an update on the game between Celta Vigo and Barcelona. Apologies, Duka. Just getting to that stage of the show now where I'm just starting to muddle people's names up, but it's been a bumper edition of the show, and that is why goals flying in all over the shop, all over the UK, and now indeed flying in all over Europe. Just to Update you with the scores then in La Liga, our game that we are bringing updates from between Celta Vigo and Barcelona. That game is still goalless, so to Manchester City at home to Chelsea. In Serie A, Verona are currently 1-1 at home to Juventus, so an excellent result currently. If it stays that way, it will be an excellent result for Verona. And in our Bundesliga game, it is currently RB Leipzig 1, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0. But I mentioned Serie A a couple of moments ago. It's impossible not to talk about Jose Mourinho in any shape or form. Normally, of course, such a magnetic character to the limelight is dear Jose. He was sacked from his position as AS Roma manager a couple of weeks ago. Daniele De Rossi replaced him, and Roma certainly seemed to be they've been a pretty fine fettle, not necessarily picking up points and wins, but certainly playing much more exciting football. The handbrake very much taken off by De Rossi. But let's just have a little listen now to what Jose Mourinho had to say about his exit from the Italian capital earlier this week.
I can say is the one that hurted me more. I can say that. You can ask me why. Because I gave everything. I gave my heart. I gave even some options that could be considered not very clever by the professional point of view. I refused great working opportunities. The first one was even very, very hard to refuse because it was Portugal, and Portugal with national team, with probably the best national team ever. 3 years before a World Cup. Then I had a big one from Saudi. I didn't hide it at the time because was really big.
Jose Mourinho with his customary modesty on display there. He is, I mean, just a charismatic guy, isn't he? I could listen to him all day despite how much he likes to big himself up. But a wonderful character. Be interesting to see where he pops up next. We're going to get an update from Duka Dobmer from Leipzig in just a second. Before we do that, let's cross over to Matt Smith, because Chelsea have squandered another glorious chance to put themselves a goal up here.
Yeah, this time it's Raheem Sterling. I think City are going to be caught out eventually. This little lofty ball over the top. This time the ball's been played over to Raheem Sterling. And Raheem Sterling has only got Ederson to beat. He's 1-on-1 with the keeper. But as we know, Ederson is right out of his goal and, again, sort of smothers the ball straight away and launches another City attack. So there's two chances there, really, that there's almost sort of indecisiveness coming from the Chelsea forwards, thinking, oh, my goodness, Ederson's right in my face. What do I do? Almost panics them into just making no decision at all. So it's two big chances there. You take on the keeper or just slot it past him. I say that very simply. Well, I'm not a Chelsea striker, but 33 minutes played. City 0, Chelsea 0. Chelsea have had some chances.
Thank you very much, Matt Smith. You do just worry if Chelsea are squandering chances like that to take the lead. At what point are Manchester City going to punish them? Let's head over to the port of Vigo and have a catch up with Alec Hughes. He has news of a booking there for the home side. Alec.
Yeah, that's right. Well, actually, since we've last spoken, we've had some chances here, half chances. Vitor Roque had a sniff of a chance, but his touch let him down. Aspas is causing all sorts of problems on the Barcelona defence. But it was Tadeo Allende who was booked for Celta Vigo, the type of tackle that would probably earn him a blue card in the future. It was the first time Barca really exposed a bit of space in the Celta back line, and Pedri burst away down the right. And Argentine midfielder Allende just clinically took him down. And he'll have to be careful now because he's going to be tracking João Cancelo for the rest of the game. We'll see how long that lasts, because Cancelo is really looking like a real attacking outlet for Barcelona on the left-hand side. But it's 32 minutes gone here in Vigo, and it is Celta 0, Barca 0.
It is indeed. Thank you very much, Alec Hughes. 0-0 in La Liga between Celta Vigo and Barcelona. Perfect opportunity here to get the latest odds from nairabet.com, courtesy of the wonderful, the delightful producer John.
Here's John Kane with all the very latest odds from Nairabet.
Yes, all the latest odds from Narabet. Of course, all these prices are subject to change. Manchester City against Chelsea, still 0-0 with a booking to Chelsea just now as well. Man City are 1.57 for the win. Just gone down to 4.20 for the draw, and away win for Chelsea is 6.0. Celta Vigo against Barcelona is still 0-0. Celta Vigo at home are 4.0. The draw has just gone down to 3.0, and Barcelona away win is 2.15. RB Leipzig against Borussia Mönchengladbach. RB Leipzig are leading by a goal to nil. They are more or less next to nothing. They are 1.12 to win that game. The draw has just gone up to 9.0, and away win for Borussia Mönchengladbach is 21.0. It's second half, I believe, second half just started between Verona and Juventus. Juve and Verona are 1-1 there. Verona are 6.0 for the win. The draw is just gone down to 2.50, and away win for Juve is 2.05. The Dutch Eredivisie, Sparta Rotterdam are losing at home by 2-0 to Excelsior. Sparta are, even with losing 2-0 down, they're a healthy price with 7.0 for the win and turn it around. The draw has just gone up to 5.25, and away win for Excelsior is 1.40, who are leading away by 2-0. Fortuna Sittard are leading Etihad Alkmaar by 1-0 after 21 minutes. However, Fortuna Sittard are 2.40 for the win. The draw is 3.20, and away win for Etihad Alkmaar is 3.20. If you just go back quickly for the Manchester City against Chelsea, if you think it's going to be over 2.5 goals in this game, it's going to be 2.10. If you think it's going to be over 3.5 goals, is 3.75. Right, for goal scorers, for first goal scorer, if you think it's going to be Cole Palmer who's going to score the first goal, he is on 10.0 at the moment. If we think Haaland, he's 3.60, and if you think Kevin De Bruyne to score the first goal, he is on 10.0. Of course, all these prices from Narabet, and is all subject to change.
Thank you very much indeed, producer John. All the latest odds on the games across Europe and indeed the rest of the world there from nairabet.com. As producer John rightly says, all odds are, of course, subject to change. Just to remind you, earlier on in the show, we brought you live updates from Arsenal's 5-0 demolition of Burnley at Turf Moor, Aston Villa's 2-1 victory at Craven Cottage, Newcastle United 2, Bournemouth 2 was the final score at St James's Park, and Nottingham Forest beat West Ham United, the 10 men of West Ham United, 2-0. And in North London, Tottenham Hotspur lost 2-1 at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Let's cross to Matt Smith at the Etihad Stadium. We haven't had a huge number of updates for you recently, Matt. Does that mean that City are stemming Chelsea's tide a little bit? Because Chelsea were just getting themselves into this game, really, in a proper sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think City have obviously had the majority of the ball, 63% of the possession. City have had, 8 shots to Chelsea's 2, but they've both had 2 shots on target. So it shows that really Chelsea are, having these chances and really good chances, and they're not taking them. Whether it's, City only had 2 shots on target out of their 8. They've had 3 off target and 3 block shots. So City haven't been the prolific side that we know that, putting these chances away here and there. 39 minutes played. Chelsea are still in this, but they're still in this game. City need to work on that final third really and get those decent chances, and Chelsea need to put those big chances away. It's 39 minutes played. Man City 0, Chelsea 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith. Let's cross to Leipzig, where there's been an opportunity for the home side to double their lead. Duca, what's the latest there?
Yeah, no, it was a brilliant ball set through to Luis Openda, who was 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. It was a really, really good save from Nicholas, the goalkeeper, but Openda really should have scored there to double RB Leipzig's lead. They've been all over Mönchengladbach, but you do feel if Mönchengladbach have that, just get that one chance, that one ball through, it's game on again. But at the minute, Leipzig are fully in control here and thoroughly deserve the lead so far going into half-time. So still 1-0 here at the Red Bull Arena.
Thank you very much indeed, Duca. Let's cross to Vigo and have an update from Alec Hughes on the game between Celta Vigo and Barcelona. Alec, anything going on in this game? I see is 37 minutes played so far. The score is still 0-0. How have Celta Vigo looked?
Celta Vigo are looking pretty decent. As I said, they're putting in challenges and they're making Barcelona feel reasonably uncomfortable. And you know what? They're a decent side and they're definitely not one of the worst three sides in the division, but they are hovering uncomfortably around the danger zone and they're making life quite difficult here for Barcelona. So a draw would really provide them a very welcome point. As far as Barcelona go, most of the plays coming down their left-hand side and João Cancelo is seeing more and more of the ball, but still no penetration from Barcelona, really. And Celta Vigo are comfortably coping with whatever Barcelona can throw at them. They're very neat, they're very tidy, and Rafa Benitez has organised them well today.
Thank you very much indeed, Alec Hughes in Vigo for us this afternoon. Just to remind you, the score there is still 0-0 between Celta Vigo and Barcelona. It's also still 0-0 between Manchester City and Chelsea. Chances for both sides. And in fact, there has been a goal at the Etihad Stadium.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it has gone the way of Chelsea. Chelsea find themselves a 0-0 up away at Manchester City. And it's their former player, Raheem Sterling, has put them a goal up. He missed a pretty decent chance a few minutes ago. Matt Smith, how did this goal unfold?
Well, it's on that counter-attack that we said that Man City have a little chink in their armour on the counter-attack. It's a ball played over the top again, this time to Nicholas Jackson, who we know has got blistering pace. And it's almost a carbon copy of the other chance that Sterling had that Ederson smothered out. This time Nicholas Jackson picks him out perfectly, and this time Sterling takes it on his left. Kyle Walker's coming across him. It looks like the City man's going to get there, and Sterling just cuts it back with the outside of his right foot. I think it may even go through Walker's legs. Ederson rushes out and Sterling, a real nice whipped finish into the far corner. And I can't quite believe I'm saying this scoreline. 42 minutes played, Man City 0, Chelsea 1.
Yeah, really positive stuff for Chelsea at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City perhaps guilty of just being in cruise control a little too readily at the Etihad Stadium this afternoon. Just as we were saying, Nicholas Jackson should be doing a little bit better in front of goal. He pops up with an assist. You have to say that's possibly on current form what he is best used for in this Chelsea side. Just can't catch a break in front of goal, but got the assist for Raheem Sterling's opener at the Etihad Stadium. 4 minutes of injury time have been displayed at the Red Bull Arena in Leipzig. But let's go to Alec Hughes in Vigo. There's been a booking for Barcelona, Alec.
Yeah, very deserved booking for Andreas Christensen. He's playing in the base of midfield for Barcelona today, and he picked up that booking. He raked his studs down the Achilles of Iago Aspas. It looked quite nasty. And I'll tell you, the Vigo fans did not appreciate that one, harming Iago Aspas. But luckily, he's back up and he's moving okay now. But it was certainly a nasty enough tackle from Christensen. Deserved booking. Coming up to half time now, and it looks like both sides will be looking to get in there, reorder their ideas, and see what's going to happen in the second half. But it's Celta Vigo 0, Barcelona 0, with nearly 42 minutes gone here.
Thank you very much indeed, Alec. Just to remind you, on the show tomorrow, Richard Parr will be steering the ship. You haven't got to listen to me for a second day in a row. We will be bringing you live updates in the Premier League from Sheffield United against Brighton and Luton against Manchester United. Then we've got 2 games in the Bundesliga that we will be bringing you. Bochum against Bayern Munich, that gets underway at 5:30. Freiburg against Eintracht Frankfurt is at 3:30 in Serie A. At 3 p.m. we will bring you updates from Udinese against Cagliari. From 2:30 we will be bringing you updates from Ajax against Nijmegen in the Eredivisie, and in La Liga, we're bringing you updates from Granada against Almeria. So contrary to what you might be hearing, it's not Barry Swain who will be hosting tomorrow. It will be the delightful Richard Parr. 3 minutes of injury time have just been signalled at the Etihad Stadium. But our big game, I suppose, in the Premier League tomorrow is Luton against Manchester United. And of course, Erik ten Hag was talking this week ahead of that game. So we're just going to use this little, the game seems to have quietened down just a little bit, our games this afternoon. So we're going to hear what Erik ten Hag, in fact, no, we're not, because there has been a goal in Vigo.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And perhaps unsurprisingly, it has gone the way of Barcelona. They are now 1-0 up away at Celta Vigo. They've enjoyed 69% possession so far in this game, and Robert Lewandowski has given them the lead in Vigo. So we'll be getting an update from Alec Hughes on that goal in just a few moments' time. But before we do that, let's track back to Erik ten Hag and let's listen to what he had to say ahead of his Manchester United side's game away at Luton Town tomorrow.
We have to make it our game, as usually doesn't matter who you face. If you play the best or the worst, it doesn't matter, or in between, it doesn't matter. And we respect every opponent. Definitely we are not in a position to underestimate any opponent, so we will not do. And we have to play our best, because we have seen their performances are across the season very good, and especially the last weeks, they are really improving. So I have a lot of respect for this team, and we have to play our best football.
Erik ten Hag there talking about showing Luton Town appropriate respect as they head to Kenilworth Road tomorrow. Says that his side aren't in any position to be complacent against anyone in the Premier League, although he will of course be stirred by his side's recent improved performance, and of course all eyes will be on their young striker Rasmus Højlund, who's been really in and amongst the goals recently, hasn't he? The floodgates really seem to have opened for him. Scored, of course, in last weekend's game away at Aston Villa. 3 minutes of injury time have been called in Vigo, in the game between Barcelona and Celta Vigo, and it's half time now at the Etihad. So let's cross over to Matt Smith for a rundown on what happened in the first half.
Man City were all over Chelsea in the opening 10 minutes. Erling Haaland had a huge chance 12 minutes in, but headed a simple-looking header over the bar. Chelsea then had an even better chance. Cole Palmer launched a counter-attack. Malo Gusto had Jackson in support. He squared it to the striker, but the striker fluffed his lines completely, and Ederson smothered the ball. Raheem Sterling had a similar opportunity facing the City goalkeeper in a one-on-one after a lofted through ball, but the keeper smothered the English attempt again. But just before half-time, Nicholas Jackson found the central run of Raheem Sterling on the counter-attack again. Sterling had the ball, put it onto his left, but he cut it back in between the legs of Kyle Walker and curled a really nice finish all the way around the Brazilian goalkeeper Ederson to make it 1-0 Chelsea, and that's how it has gone into the break. Manchester City have had a good 60%, 70% of the possession, and Chelsea have had much less chances, 3 shots on target out of their 3 total shots, and they find themselves 1-0 up. It's a bit of a hard one to look at if you're a City fan, but it's Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1 at half-time at the Etihad.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith. Looking forward to more action from that one in about 15 minutes' time. We will cross now to Alec Hughes and get the lowdown on Robert Lewandowski's opening goal in the game between Celta Vigo and Barcelona, where it is also half-time. Alec, tell us first of all about the goal.
Yeah, that's right. It's half-time. An absolutely astonishing goal from Robert Lewandowski. Yamin Lamal had the ball out in the right wing for Barcelona, and he put inside and he fizzed the pass to Lewandowski, who took one touch on the outside of his right foot. He knocked it past Starfeld, the Celta Vigo centre-half, and he absolutely blasted it into the corner of the net. There was no chance for Brahita. He's made a fool of me. I thought they were going to go in at half-time 0-0, but not to be. It's a really wonderful goal from the Barcelona number 9. And it's half-time. Celta Vigo 0 and Barcelona 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Alec. And finally, let's go over to our other game from which we are bringing you updates this afternoon and have a catch up with Duka Dogma, because it is currently half-time in the Bundesliga between RB Leipzig and Borussia Mönchengladbach. Xavi Simons with the only goal of the game so far. Duka.
Yeah, it's been a very one-sided first half. RB Leipzig fully in control, having a host of chances. Xavi Simons could have scored another. Yusuf Poulsen had a great chance with 2 minutes into the game. Luis Openda had a really good chance with a one-on-one. But as Xavi Simons' volley from outside the area, that was the difference between the two sides in the first half. An excellent layoff by Yusuf Poulsen and volleyed home by the Dutchman. And it's been, like I said, it's been very, very one-sided. Borussia Mönchengladbach's best chance of the game came from the halfway line, where they decided to have a punt at goal from there and came off nothing. So I do expect RB Leipzig to run out of all 3 points in this game. But half-time here at the Red Bull Arena, 1-0 to RB Leipzig.
Thank you very much, Duka Dogma, at the Red Bull Arena for us. 2 minutes only before we hand you back to Joseph and Victor in Nigeria for 10 or 15 minutes or so. 1 minute only before we do that. So scores on the doors in our feature games are, of course, Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1 at half-time, RB Leipzig 1, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0, and it's Celta Vigo 0, Barcelona 1. So 1 goal in it only across all of our feature games this evening. Verona 2, Juventus 2 is a latest score in Serie A. Was 1-1 at half-time, and both sides have scored second-half goals. In the Eredivisie, Sparta Rotterdam are currently 2-2 at home to Excelsior. Fortuna Sittard are currently 1-0 up at home to AZ Alkmaar. In fact, AZ Alkmaar have literally just equalised. It's now 1-1 in that one. In the Portuguese Primeira Liga, Portimonense are currently 1-0 down at home to Vitória Guimarães. In the Swiss Super League, it's St. Gallen 2, Winterthur 1, Lausanne Sports 3, Ibadan 1. In the Saudi Pro League, Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr are currently being held 1-1 by Al Fath Al Lassa. In Belgium, it's Leuven 0, Charleroi 0. In the Greek Super League, it's Atromitis Athens Thessaloniki 0, Aris Thessaloniki 1. That's the latest score in the Greek First Division, the Greek Super League. So we're going to hand you back to Joseph and Victor in Nigeria for the next 10 or 12 minutes or so. This is Football Live.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Alex Guilford.
Yes, it is indeed Football Live with me, Alex Guilford. The last 45 minutes of the show are now ahead of us. It is Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1 at the Etihad Stadium. They've just got underway in the second half there, so let's cross to our delightful senior reporter, Matt Smith, for an update there. Matt, any changes at half-time?
No changes at half-time, which I'm a little bit surprised. Moise Caicedo obviously on a booking, and he's just given away a very dangerous free kick that Kevin De Bruyne has taken the ball to take this free kick. The referee is obviously now looking at Caicedo, thinking, right, next challenge you make, it could be a second yellow. So I'm surprised Pochettino hasn't taken him off at half-time, but I'm sure he will be off pretty soon. De Bruyne is just about to step up to a free kick. 47 minutes in, City 0, Chelsea 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. Still 1-0 to Chelsea at the Etihad Stadium. There has been a goal at Vigo.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
We will be getting an update from Vigo in a few moments' time. There's even more to discuss there now because Celta Vigo have put themselves level. They have snatched one back barely 2 minutes into the second half. Plenty to cheer about for their home fans. Now it is that man, their talisman, such an important player for years and years at Celta, coming into the twilight of his career now as well, restored to the starting lineup this evening. Iago Aspas has drawn his side level, brushed off that brash challenge from Andreas Christensen earlier in the game and got back on his feet, and he has put his side level. Be a really valuable point or more if they can get one. Alec Hughes is at Vigo for us and has a report on the goal. Alec, tell us more.
Oh, it's a huge goal here for Celta Vigo, and a stroke of fortune, it must be said, but it is Iago Aspas, their main man, their hero, who has put them, drawn them level with Barcelona. They started the second half brightly, getting about them well, and when the ball fell to Iago Aspas in the centre of the box, just outside the area, he side-footed the ball. To be honest, it looked like it could have been easily gathered by Ter Stegen, but it wasn't. It was Larson again who did well in the centre forward role. The ball came back out to Aspas. A tame enough effort from Iago Aspas, but it clipped up off the right boot of Jules Koundé and over the helpless Ter Stegen. But it was, it's not. It's what they deserve for their first half effort. They were unlucky to be 1-0 down. The pace is going wild here in Vigo, and it's 47 and a half minutes gone. Celta 1, Barcelona 1.
Thank you very much indeed. Alec Hughes at the port of Vigo, watching Celta Vigo against Barcelona there in the big one in the Premier League this evening. We will be crossing to Duca Dogma in Germany in a couple of moments' time, but we're going to go to the Etihad Stadium because, Matt Smith, you discussed that City were going to come out all guns firing, you thought, in the second half here. Jeremy Doku's looks particularly bright, and there's been a shout for a penalty as well. Tell us more.
Yeah, there's been a shout for a penalty. It has been ruled out. VAR checked it. There's no penalty given. The referee gave a free kick anyway. And when you look at it on some of the replays, Raheem Sterling, is trying to defend against Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's very intelligent. He leaves his foot in, and Sterling is trying to clear the ball and obviously volleys Kyle Walker. And Kyle Walker goes down, holding his leg, screaming, "Referee, this must be a penalty." But I think he's a little bit clever there from Kyle Walker. And referee gave a free kick, VAR checked it, and a free kick was maintained. So City were obviously in uproar. Pep Guardiola shaking his head. But 50 minutes, it's Man City 0, Chelsea 1.
Thank you very much, Matt Smith. No change to the scoreline there, and no penalty for Manchester City, despite the best efforts of Kyle Walker to convince the referee that he should be awarded a penalty. Pep Guardiola not happy about it. But I suppose you're never going to be happy about your side not being awarded a penalty, are you? We're actually going to go back to Matt Smith, because just as he was reading us that report, or just afterwards, Erling Haaland's missed a glorious chance, Matt.
Goodness me, this man must be shaking his head thinking, what is going on? It's Phil Foden this time that supplies Erling Haaland. Phil Foden's on the right, and it's a little bit of a lofty pass, but it's right across the sort of 18-yard box. And the Haaland we know and love from last season, and maybe even the season before, would have absolutely smashed that into the net. And it's a real sort of awkward, tame effort with the inside of his left foot, maybe just showing a little bit of lack of confidence, but it's gone quite a bit wide. Bit of a shocking thing to see, really, from Erling Haaland, the prolific goal scorer we know. It's still 51 minutes played. City, another big chance goes a-begging. City 0, Chelsea 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. Also bad news for my fantasy team, as I mentioned earlier, triple captain Erling Haaland, and he has so far not repaid my faith in him. He is 3.40 on nairabet.com to score the next goal, though. That is, of course, subject to change. Let's finally cross over to the Red Bull Arena in Leipzig and catch up with Duka Dobma, who is at their game against Borussia Mönchengladbach this evening. Duka, first of all, any personnel changes at half-time to run past us?
No changes, which is surprising. I would have thought Mönchengladbach would have made a couple of changes to kind of get at Leipzig a little bit more. But saying that, they've started off the second half very, very brightly, and they've just had a really, really good chance through Jordan Sabachu Deloney from Union Berlin. And it was a cross into the box. He got his head onto it, but the cross just seemed a little bit behind him, just difficult to divert goalwards. Instead, it goes out for a goal kick. But I will have to say, in the opening sort of 8 minutes to the second half, Borussia Mönchengladbach have looked a different side to what they did in the first half. But still at the Red Bull Arena, Red Bull Leipzig 1, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Duka. So no changes on the scoreline in the Bundesliga game, our Bundesliga game between RB Leipzig and Borussia Mönchengladbach. No change to the personnel on either side either. Just to update you with the score in Serie A, the game between Verona and Juventus is still 2-2, approaching the final 6 or 7 minutes rather of that one. Let's, however, head back to the Etihad Stadium, talk to Matt Smith. Matt, I think we can probably be optimistic. Surely Manchester City are going to get one back in this game at some point soon, surely.
Yeah, they've definitely got a goal in them. They're prolific from set pieces. They're prolific from sort of open play. So surely we're going to get a goal here. They've had 16 shots in total, but only 2 on target. That shows how lacking they are really going forward. Haaland's having a real off day. Alvarez maybe not firing on all cylinders. Neither Phil Foden or De Bruyne. Pep Guardiola will be furious with this so far. But they've had 4 corners. City really piling on the pressure, but not really getting anything to show for it. It's 54 minutes played. Man City 0, Chelsea 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith. Chelsea not quite at the races just yet. Haven't quite been able to convert their dominance into a goal yet. I'm looking at the XG for both sides, which I know is not, it's not a metric that everyone likes, but it can be a useful tool for assessing the quality of the chances that either side have created. Before half-time, both sides were on less than 1 XG each. Since then, in the second half now, we're 10 minutes in, Manchester City are on 1.5 XG, which does go to show the quality of the chances they have had in this game. They should have definitely at least have scored 1, if not possibly 2. Chelsea's XG is 0.88, so you can't particularly begrudge them having already scored 1. It's not too far off. Just to remind you, 66% possession so far for Manchester City, but they've only managed 2 shots on target from their 16 in total. 3 shots on target out of 4 shots at goal in total for Chelsea. Let's go back to Germany, have a catch up with Duka Dobma once more. Duka, RB Leipzig spurning chances to double their lead yet again.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, this game's really end-to-end now. Both sides just trading attacks at the minute, and it was a really good counter-attack by Leipzig. They got the ball forward so quickly. Openda was instrumental in that. Just the speed he has, he's monumental. He's running past Mönchengladbach players like they're just traffic cones. And in the end, it falls to Xavi Simons on the edge of the area. A similar position to where he scored from in the first half. But this time just hits it straight at the goalkeeper. But Leipzig still piling the pressure on here. But as it stands at the Red Bull Arena, still RB Leipzig 1, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Duka. Let's just have a quick look at the odds for these games on nairabet.com. Guilford.com. In Serie A, the game currently 2-2 between Verona and Juventus. It's 1.33 the draw there, unsurprisingly. If you fancy Verona to nick a late winner, it's 11.0. So lots of value to be found there. If you fancy Juventus to nick it with 5 minutes or so of normal time left to play, it's 4.75. I can tell you that in the Bundesliga, there's VAR for a goal for RB Leipzig. So I can tell you, in fact, there has been a goal.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And as I was just saying, VAR in Germany for a goal to RB Leipzig. Goal given. Finally, Duka Dobmer, it's 2-0 to the home side.
Yeah, I think it's game, set and match now, and it's a really, really nice ball over. And it's that man who I just spoke about with his speed, Luis Openda, getting in behind the defence. And it was very, very tight. I couldn't really quite tell if he's onside or offside, but obviously the decision's been given onside. And he runs in, and it's a beautiful lob over the goalkeeper, who just seemed to just kind of stop. He thought Openda must have been offside, but no, he timed his run to perfection and lofted it over the goalkeeper. And RB Leipzig are now running away with this game just under the hour mark. RB Leipzig 2, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Duka. A friend of mine who is a Chelsea fan has just sent me a text message, by the way, just saying that if I'm online later, I need to try and look up the video of Malo Gusto's no-look pass. Apparently a thing of absolute beauty if you enjoy completely meaningless pieces of flair for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I'm reliably informed by a friend of mine who is a Chelsea fan. Currently Chelsea leading Manchester City by 1-0 at the Etihad Stadium. RB Leipzig now 2-0 up, as Duka Dobmer was just telling us, at home to Borussia Mönchengladbach. In La Liga, it's still Celta Vigo 1, Barcelona 1. In the Eredivisie, it's half-time now in Rotterdam. Sparta Rotterdam are drawing 2-2 at the interval at home to Excelsior. Fortuna Sittard are a goal up at home to AZ Alkmaar. In the Portuguese Primeira Liga, it's half-time as well in the game between Portimonense and Vitória Guimarães. If you fancy that on NairaBet.com at the moment, if you fancy Portimonense to turn that one around, it's 13.0 for a home win. 5.0 is the draw at 1.29. The away win, if you fancy Guimarães to stay ahead at the as they are at the moment. Just to remind you, in Serie A a little bit later on, we've got Atalanta. They're playing Sassuolo. Currently on NairaBet.com, it's 1.33 for the Atalanta home win. 5.5 is the draw, and 8.0 for a Sassuolo away win. They are in pretty rotten form at the moment, Sassuolo, but they are a good side, plenty of good players in it. So plenty of value to be found there. Also this evening in Ligue 1, Nantes host PSG in Nantes in the south of France. 6.5 on NairaBet.com if you fancy Nantes to take all 3 points from that. 4.75 the draw. Perhaps unsurprisingly, it's 1.44 for the PSG win. PSG, of course, fresh from midweek Champions League victory against Real Sociedad. All bets available on NairaBet.com and are, of course, subject to change. Let's catch up with Matt Smith at the Etihad Stadium, because Cole Palmer, Cold Palmer, as his nickname is, has gone into the referee's notebook.
Yeah, he has. It's a little bit of immaturity, really. He gave away a foul, I believe, against Ruben Diaz, and he's obviously tried to stop a quick free kick getting taken by Julian Alvarez, and he's just stood in front of the ball. And as Alvarez has gone to put the ball down and play, Palmer's just knocked it through his legs as a little bit of a time-wasting tactic. 60 minutes in, Phil Foden's just had a half-decent chance. The ball's lofted over right across the 6-yard box, and it seems like it's in the air for an eternity. Phil Foden winds it up on that little signed wider shot, and it's blocked by Disasi. But City are, finding it a little bit difficult to break Chelsea down. Chelsea are in 2 banks of 4 at the moment, with Gallagher and Jackson up the top half of the field. But 61 minutes played, Man City 0, Chelsea 1.
Thank you, Matt Smith. Bring us all the updates. We are reaching the hour mark across all of our games. In fact, they've all been surpassed now. The hour mark, 6 minutes in Serie A has been signalled in the game between Verona and Juventus. That game is still 2-2. Manchester City still 1 goal down at home to Chelsea. Celta Vigo, Barcelona is currently 1-1. And in the Bundesliga, Leipzig are 2-0 up at home to Borussia Mönchengladbach. In fact, let's cross over to Alec Hughes, who is in Spain for us. Alec, a couple of substitutions for Barcelona as Xavi tries to roll the dice a little bit and get his side back on top.
Yeah, that's right. It's still 1-1 here in Vigo, thanks to a wonderful goal from Robert Lewandowski just before halftime, and then a deflected Iago Aspas effort just after halftime. And yes, as you mentioned, Barcelona are looking to shake things up a little bit after that Aspas goal, and they brought in Gundogan and Rafinha for Christensen and Vitor Roque. Celta have also made a change. Manu Sanchez is in at left back to replace Mihailo Ristic. And Ristic went off in a bit of pain, so we'll wait and see how that goes. I didn't get the chance to tell you at half time. They also made both sides had to replace their central defenders. Carlos Dominguez coming off for Unai Núñez for Celta Vigo, and Inigo Martinez is in for Araujo. So there's been quite a few changes, 3 in all for Barcelona and 2 for Celta Vigo. And with just over an hour gone, 61 minutes, it's Celta Vigo 1, Barcelona 1.
Thank you very much, Alec Hughes. Let's go back to the Etihad Stadium with Matt Smith, because Rodri has missed an opportunity to put the scores level, and then it's all going on at the moment, isn't it, Matt? Because Petrovic has then been booked, the Chelsea goalkeeper, and now Chelsea have made a substitution as well. Give us the latest, please.
Yes, I'll be as quick as I can. It's been all action since you last came to me. Rodri had a fantastic chance. Bowden's, his trickery in the box for City. He's trying to find an outlet. He set it back to Rodri, who's waiting on the edge of the box as he always does. And his left foot shot is just whistled past the post. It's another good chance. I can't, City haven't scored yet. They've had 19 shots, but only 2 on target. And another one goes a-begging. And then Petrovic is booked for time wasting, as all these Chelsea players seem to be doing, holding on to these 3 points. Chelsea make a sub. Raheem Sterling, the goal scorer, has come off. Christopher Nkunku has come on. Julian Alvarez has just been hauled off as well for Bernardo Silva, who's come on. So it's all change. It's all hectic at the moment, but it still remains Man City 0, Chelsea 1 after 64 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. Fascinating contest underway at the Etihad Stadium. There are 25 minutes left there, and it's currently Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1. This is Football Live.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news. This is Football Live.
Football Live. Football's never sounded so good on Brila FM every Saturday and Sunday.
Tomorrow on Football Live, Manchester United take their superb recent form to Luton Town. Follow all of the action from Kenilworth Road right here on Football Live from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Also on the show, Brighton go to bottom club Sheffield United, and Bayern Munich look to close the gap on Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga with a trip to Bochum. Join myself, Barry Swain, tomorrow afternoon from 3 on Football Live, exclusive to Brila FM.
Hello and a very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Absolute screamer.
Banging form into dreamland.
Oh my God, they were crying. What was he doing in the box?
Check my phone, mate. He's not in there.
He looks thoroughly disgusted.
They've been absolutely brilliant. That's proper.
So much to tell you about.
So much going on.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
In the Premier League, you just never know.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM. Introducing NairaBet's new feature, ShareBet. Celebrate victories, showcase your skills, and join the NairaBet community today. Ever wished you could share the excitement of your bets with friends and fellow enthusiasts effortlessly? Well, now your betting experience can be shared with just a click, making every moment unforgettable. How to share your bet. Step 1, place your bets at nairabet.com. Step 2, go to the My Bet section. Step 3, select the drop-down on your bet slip. Step Step 4. Select Share Bet to copy your bet. Your bet is now ready to be shared with the world. Must be 18 plus to place a bet. General terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Football Live
on
Brila FM.
On Brila FM. Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Alex Guilford.
Yes, it is Football Live with me, Alex Guilford, bringing you live updates from Manchester City against Chelsea, Celta Vigo against Barcelona, and RB Leipzig against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Just to let you know that the game in Serie A between Verona and Juventus has finished 2-2 at full time, so no further action there. Fantastic result for Verona, and surely if there was any doubt that Inter were going to win the title, surely that has now been extinguished with Juventus dropping more points. Meanwhile, in England at the Etihad Stadium, big save from the Chelsea goalkeeper a few moments ago, Matt Smith, before Chelsea had an opportunity of their own at the other end.
Yeah, it's becoming a little bit end-to-end, and that's far more exciting to watch than City just dominating possession, I'll tell you that. But, the chances come from Jeremy Doku. Again, a little bit of trickery. Foden and Doku have been the real bright sparks for City, with no reward. But Doku's coming through the centre. Erling Haaland almost does like a little underrun right in front of him. And Doku releases Haaland, and Haaland's got blistering pace, as we know, with those big, long legs. But there's a little deflection off to Sassi from the resulting shot, and Petrovic has got to cover his front post, and he does so, and it's a good reaction save. And then Chelsea had a chance up the other end. It's a little bit of a confusion between Enzo Fernandez and Nicholas Jackson. It's a calamity, really, if I'm being very honest with you. The ball's set back, and it's just begging for one of them to hit it, and they both hit the ball at the same time, and Nicholas Jackson is furious with the World Cup winner, Enzo Fernandez, and it's a chance that goes a-begging. They had a chance to make it 2-0, but it remains Man City 0, Chelsea 1 after 68 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith, bringing you updates over the next 25 minutes or so as Chelsea try and hold on to what would be a historic result. Really, I think historic result is probably fair given their fortunes of late. We'll be getting updates from Germany in a few moments' time. But before we do that, producer John is going to give you the latest odds from NairaBet.com.
Here's John Kane with all the very latest odds from NairaBet.
Yes, all the latest odds from NairaBet. Of course, all these prices are subject to change. 69 minutes gone, it's still Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1. Manchester City are 3.60 for the win. The draw has just gone up to 3.0, and away win for Chelsea is only 2.30. Celta Vigo against Barcelona. The 68 minutes gone is 1-1. Celta are 5.25 for the win. The draw has just gone down to 2.0, and away win for Barcelona is 2.75. RB Leipzig against Borussia Mönchengladbach is 2-0 to RB Leipzig. About 20 minutes to go. It's suspended for RB Leipzig. The draw, however, is 23.0. And you fancy Borussia Mönchengladbach to come back from behind? I'll ask Duke Dogma for that. It's 101.0. Portimonense, they're losing at home by a goal to nil to Vitória Guimarães. Portimonense are 13.0 for the win. The draw is 4.75, and away win for Vitória Guimarães are 1.30. Now, if you want to play an accumulator, which if you think Man City will win will beat Chelsea and Barcelona to win, the odds on that combined at the moment is 10.64 for both teams to win. So Man City to win, Barcelona to win, as it stands, is 10.64 if you accumulated both together. And if you want to put I keep mentioning that name, Portimonense, thank you very much, sir. If you want to add that into the mix, you'll get 159.60. So it's not a bad accumulator for that, and so maybe it's worth a try. Let's go to the Man City game quickly. Goals-wise, if you think it's going to be over 2.5 goals, doesn't matter who scores it, Man City or Chelsea, is 2.40, and if you think it's going to be over 3.5 goals, it's 5.50. Of course, all these prices from Nairavet, and it's all subject to change. And thank you very much, Alex, for the correction. It's not easy sometimes, I can tell you. So.
No, I know. Thank you very much, producer John. I am pleased to say, I'm afraid to say, or am I pleased to say, I lived in Portugal for about 6 months when I was younger, so my Portuguese pronunciation for most places is pretty good, although my Portuguese is completely non-existent. So don't ask me to
It's
actually
completely
speak
acceptable. Completely acceptable. Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Thank you.
You are more than welcome, producer John, with all the bets from nairobet.com there. Don't forget, of course, all odds are subject to change. We're going to get another update from Matt Smith at the Etihad Stadium because Chelsea have squandered an opportunity to double their lead, and now Chelsea have made a substitution as well. Matt Smith.
Yes, Chelsea made a substitution, I think maybe to just try and park the bus a little bit. We're 72 minutes in and they've made one of those defensive changes. Trevor Chalobah is on for Cole Palmer, who's obviously been booked. A little bit of a smart one from Pochettino as well to keep him from getting suspended. So I think we're looking at a back five. Trevor Chalobah, you know, we're used to seeing him in a defensive role. I think it might have gone to a 5-4-1 Pochettino, but we'll have to wait and see. 72 minutes played, City 0, Chelsea 1, but City are again still knocking on the door, still looking for that equaliser, and Chelsea launching counter-attack after counter-attack.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith. Chelsea trying to exploit the space that is being left in behind Manchester City's defence as they try and push for an all-important equaliser. It'd be great for the title race, you have to say, if Chelsea can hold on to all 3 points. Manchester City still have, don't forget, a game in hand over Liverpool and Arsenal. A game in hand, though, that they will, well, at least in Arsenal's case anyway, that they will supersede on Tuesday evening. I think it's Tuesday evening. They are playing... they've got, who are they playing on Tuesday evening? Brentford at home. That's it. Liverpool are also playing against, they're at home to Luton on Wednesday. So Manchester City still with opportunities, but you have to say it certainly levels the playing field a little bit if they don't take a single point from this game at home to Chelsea. Let's go to Germany and catch up with Duka Dummer because there's been a huge chance for RB Leipzig. If the game wasn't already put to bed, it was certainly a chance for them to really cement their lead and cement all 3 points with a third goal, but they've missed it.
Yeah, massive chance. There's a substitute, Benjamin Sesko, who's come on for Yusuf Poulsen, and the look on the Mönchengladbach faces when they would have seen Benjamin Sesko come on after having to deal with Yusuf Poulsen for just over 60 minutes. You know, it must have been looks of despair. And Benjamin Sesko just had a fantastic chance. The ball played through. He's one-on-one with the keeper again. And I must say, Nicholas, the Mönchengladbach goalkeeper today, has been fantastic. He's made some very, very good saves to keep this game at 2-0 rather than it being 4 or 5 or 6-0 today. But he manages to get a foot to it and palm it out sort of for a corner in the end. But still, 75 minutes gone here at the Red Bull Arena. Red Bull Leipzig 2, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0.
Thank you very much indeed, Duka. Let's just have a quick look at what is going on in the world of football. I mentioned that Nantes were hosting PSG in Ligue 1 a little bit later on this evening. Some team news there is that Kylian Mbappe is not in the squad for that game. It's not clear if he's still suffering from the ankle injury or whether he has simply been dropped by Luis Enrique in light of his decision to leave the club. He was, of course, instrumental in their midweek victory in the Champions League, but Kylian Mbappe not in the PSG squad this evening. So important news in League and you possibly could argue important news in La Liga as well, because he certainly looks to be heading to Real Madrid in the summer. Let's go to Etihad Stadium in England, though. Forget about Spain for a second, because Matt Smith has got some slightly concerning news for Manchester City fans.
Yes, Kevin De Bruyne was down there for a good minute or so. The play continued. City were obviously trying to get this equaliser, so they didn't want to kick the ball out of play. And De Bruyne, it was a tackle from Moise Caicedo. Again, still on the pitch, still booked. The referee obviously didn't give a foul and didn't have a look at that and give him a second yellow. So he's again lucky to be on the field. I would guess it's a bit of a stamp, a little bit. De Bruyne plays a 1-2 with Foden and gets round the back of him, and it's a little bit of a after the ball challenge. De Bruyne was down. He didn't receive any treatment, but he's still hobbling a little bit now, a little bit gingerly. 76 minutes played. Man City 0, Chelsea 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. Let's head to Alec Hughes, who's got an update from a penalty appeal in the game between Celta Vigo and Barcelona. Alec, what's your opinion on the decision not to award the penalty?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the right decision not to award the penalty here. The ball was bouncing around the edge of the Celta Vigo box. Gundogan prodded the ball forward, and Rafinha won his header, but we got a slight nudge from the back. He made a meal of it. The referee, it had to be checked, and checked it was, and rightfully there was no penalty awarded for Barcelona. So it's been a little bit more end to end in this last few minutes. The game's loosened up a little bit. But still, no more goals after that. Wonderful for the skill from Mingueza performed Aspas going. So it remains after 75 minutes, Celta 1, Barcelona 1.
Thank you very much, Alec. Let's go back to Matt Smith, who we were chatting to a few moments ago. Matt, I cannot believe what I'm about to say. Erling Haaland has missed another glaring opportunity. He has not got his shooting boots on at all this evening.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear. He has been well off it today, Erling Haaland. Kevin De Bruyne has set another chance on a plate for the Norwegian. But, it's wide left from the Belgian. He dinked it all the way over the top of the Chelsea defenders. And it's Erling Haaland, probably I'd argue 8 yards out. All he needs to do is just header it down. We know he can do those bullet headers. We seem to know he can do those bullet headers. He's missed 2 big headers today, and he misses this one again. It's a glaring opportunity missed here. It's 78 minutes played. City 0, Chelsea 1.
City 0, Chelsea 1 at the Etihad Stadium. I know I mentioned the XG earlier. I don't want to bore everybody too much with that. Manchester City, though, on 2.15 XG, so they definitely should have at least 1 goal to their name, if not 2 there at the Etihad. Manchester City still pressing for that all-important equaliser. They've got 11 minutes left in which to do so. There's 12 minutes left in the game between Celta Vigo and Barcelona, and only 10. That's 1-1, by the way. That one. It's in the Bundesliga. It's RB Leipzig 2, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0. 9 minutes now left in that one. You cannot get a price from nairabet.com for an RB Leipzig victory, so sure are they of a home win there, given that they are 2-0 up, that they will not give you any odds for that. 1.0, so whatever you put on, you will simply get your stake back if it comes in. The draw is 23.0 if you think Borussia Mönchengladbach can claw back 2 more goals in the remaining 10 minutes plus injury time. If you really fancy them to not only do that, but to go further and to get an unlikely, at this stage, looks like an unlikely away win. That is 101.0. Back in Manchester, though, Erling Haaland is 4.60 to be the next goal scorer in that game at the Etihad. All odds are on nairabet.com and, of course, are subject to change. So do bear that in mind if I've managed to entice you into having a bet that may not still be the case when you come to stake your own. So we are in the last 10 minutes of the game between Manchester City and Chelsea. I just thought it would be an interesting opportunity here, given that there's not been a huge amount of action in the last couple of minutes, to look at the substitutes bench for either side. You have to say the starting 11 for either side, we have discussed this evening. You'd have to say, given the 11 players that both sides started with, you would expect Manchester City to be certainly winning this contest, or at the very least drawing. Manchester City on their substitutes bench have named John Stones, Mateo Kovacic, Stefan Ortega, Bernardo Silva, Sergio Gomez, Mateus Nunes, Oscar Bob, Mohamedou Sissoko, who is their young defensive midfielder from the Manchester City Academy, and they have named Rico Lewis. So of the 9 players on the bench, 8 very much established names. Chelsea, meanwhile, have Mudryk, Madueke, Bettinelli, Chalobah, Nkunku, Cassidy, Gilchrist, Samuel Smith, and Harrison. I think possibly only 3 or 4 of those you would say are particularly well-known or certainly elite Premier League players. So a real contrast in terms of the backup options on the substitutes bench for either manager. So further adding value to this Chelsea performance should they take away all 3 points, as it does look like they are going to do. And speaking of the goal at Manchester City, there has been a goal at the Etihad.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
It has finally gone in for Manchester City. It is Manchester City 1, Chelsea 0 as we speak. Matt Smith, tell us more.
Well, it's game on at the Etihad now. It's a strike from Rodri, but it has deflected, I believe, off Trevor Chalobah, and it's they've really they deserve this. They've run back to the halfway line. They want a winner. Rodri is obviously ecstatic with the equaliser. The ball has been camped into that Chelsea final third, the defending third, for a good 15 minutes. And the ball was shot from Phil Foden. It was deflected out and it came out to Rodri. Like I said before, he's been waiting on the edge of the box for any half chance to come. And he's absolutely leathered it. And it has deflected off of Chalobah. Petrovic may have been getting there, but it's nestled nicely into the goal. And it's Man City 1, Chelsea 1, game on, Alex.
Thank you very much, Matt. We'll stay with you for just a second, because I was just mentioning the substitutes bench for either side. Chelsea have recently made a change.
Yes, they've brought on Cesar Caseda for Nicholas Jackson. So Nicholas Jackson comes off, had a little bit of a say. You know, he assisted the Chelsea goal, but other than that, goodness me, he hasn't really had a very successful evening. But that's a bit of a defensive move. And as soon as the Italian man Casada came on, his team have conceded. So it's a bit of a strange one, bit of a horrible one to take, really, if you're that Italian boy. He's only young, but 83 minutes played, and City have finally equalised. It's City 1, Chelsea 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith. Let's have a look at what that has done to the odds in that game on NairaBet.com. A Manchester City victory is now 2.75. It's 1.62 for the draw and 15.0 it's just gone to for a Chelsea win. So a really big shift in the odds in that game. 1.6 the draw now, 2.8 the Manchester City win. Kevin De Bruyne to score is 13.0. Phil Foden 11. Erling Haaland is now 5.0 to score any time. To be, at this stage of the game, you would probably say it will be the final goal of the game, but just in case you want to bet on the next goal scorer, Christopher Nkunku is 29.0. Cesare Caside, who has just come on, as Matt mentioned, is 67.0. So if you fancy him to come on and sensationally turn the game around in the dying minutes, you can get fantastic value for money there. Noni Madueke is 51.0 now. As I mentioned, Erling Haaland is 6.0 to score the next goal. Elsewhere for Manchester City, Oscar Bob is 12s at the moment. Kevin De Bruyne is 17. Bernardo Silva 15. Manuel Akanji 51. Mamadou Sissoko, if he comes off the substitutes bench, he's 51.0 for the next goal. So it's all to play for still at the Etihad Stadium. But let's get an update from Germany because Dueke Dubma has news of a chance for the away side against the run of play.
Yeah, and it was Jordan Sabachu again, the striker, who had a headed chance earlier in the second half when it was 1-0, and he had a great chance here to put Mönchengladbach in the game and give him some sort of hope. And again, it's pretty much a carbon copy of his chance earlier in the second half. It was just wide of the post, couldn't get it on target, and they're still without a shot on target, Mönchengladbach. They've had 86 minutes played here. And still yet to have a shot on target, whereas RB Leipzig have had 9 shots on target so far. So it really, really does speak volumes in terms of the front lines of the two teams. With Mönchengladbach not even being able to register a shot on target so far in this game. But as it stands at the Red Bull Arena so far, RB Leipzig 2, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0.
Thanks very much indeed, Duca. We're going to head and have a chat with Alec Hughes now. He's going to update us with a substitute for either side in the game between Celta Vigo and Barcelona. Alec.
Yeah, we've had a few substitutions here for both Barcelona and Celta Vigo. For Celta Vigo, Svedberg, Vasquez, and Duicas in for Allende, Mingueza, and Strand Larsen, whereas for Barcelona it was Fermin Lopez in for Pedri, who was starting to tire. It's been an open enough game at since the Aspas goal, but really the best opportunity came from Rafinha, his free kick was well struck, but it was tipped over comfortably by Guaita. Vigo are making Barcelona feel a little bit uncomfortable, I would say, with the way they're playing, and they're creating kind of half chances here and there. But it remains Celta Vigo 1, Barcelona 1 after 85 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed, Alec Hughes. Still 1-1 in La Liga between Celta Vigo and Barcelona. Still 2-0 in the Bundesliga between RB Leipzig and Borussia Mönchengladbach. And of course, at the Etihad Stadium, it is Manchester City 1, Chelsea 1 with 2 minutes of normal time left to play. Just to remind you of our results earlier this afternoon. If you only just joined us, where have you been? We had a fantastic show full of goals for you. We had the 4 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League, of course. Burnley 0, Arsenal 5, Fulham 1, Aston Villa 2, Newcastle 2, Bournemouth 2, Nottingham Forest 2, West Ham United 0, and Tottenham Hotspur 1. Wolverhampton Wanderers were the full-time scores. Each game with at least 2 goals in it, and 4 or more in 2 of them. Of course, earlier this afternoon, in the lunchtime Premier League kickoff, it finished Brentford 1, Liverpool 4. Tomorrow in the Premier League, it's Sheffield United at home to Brighton and Hove Albion before Luton Town host Manchester United at 5:30. Richard Parr will be bringing you updates on Football Live from both of those games. Elsewhere in the Premier League this weekend, on Monday night, it's Everton against Crystal Palace before Manchester City play their kind of theoretical game in hand over Arsenal and Liverpool. That's at home to Brentford on Tuesday night, although Liverpool will then supersede them once more. They play on Wednesday evening at home to Luton Town, who of course have a very tough game tomorrow against Manchester United at home, and then they have to go to Liverpool away just a few days later. 5 minutes of added time have been called in Germany. Let's go to Matt Smith at the Etihad Stadium, though, because Manchester City are piling it on to Chelsea at the moment. Matt,
they really are. If there's going to be a goal in the remaining minutes with the plus added minutes, I think it's 4 minutes added time, so it's not too much time. But it's if there's going to be a side that scores a goal here, it's going to be City. I'll be surprised if there's no more goals in the remaining 4 minutes. But City have had corner after corner. Chelsea, I counted at one time, Chelsea had 8 players in their own box trying to defend this point. It's a much better point for Chelsea than it is for City. That's why we're seeing these City players going crazy trying to win this ball back. Guardiola getting his players back to go and win the ball. And City are desperate to try and get this 3 points so they can stay in this title race. It's 90 minutes played now, 4 added minutes to go. Man City 1, Chelsea 1.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt Smith. Chelsea 51.0 to win this game. You just wonder if, as they are constantly put on the back foot by Manchester City, and Manchester City throw more and more players forwards, will they leave holes and gaps for Chelsea to exploit on the counter-attack? As we've discussed earlier, Matt Smith brought it to us before kickoff. Manchester City are vulnerable. They are gettable on the counter-attack. So stay tuned for more updates from that one as we enter the second of 4 signalled added minutes at the end of the game. It's currently Manchester City 1, Chelsea 1 in Vigo. It's Celta Vigo 1, Barcelona 1. Into injury time there as well between these two sides at very contrasting ends of the La Liga table. Rafael Benitez's Celta Vigo will consider this an incredibly valuable point if they can hold on for it. It will put them 4 points clear of the relegation zone in Spain, and probably a game where they weren't expecting to pick up any points at all. So just a real added bonus for them and a confidence booster for his side. 6 minutes of injury time have been called in Spain. We are again into the second minute of that. So stay tuned here on Football Live. Don't forget that tomorrow, Richard Parr will be bringing you updates from not just the Premier League games that I mentioned earlier, but from Bochum against Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, Udinese against Cagliari in Serie A, Ajax against Nek Nijmegen in the Eredivisie. Also from the Bundesliga, Freiburg against Eintracht Frankfurt, and in La Liga, Granada against Almeria. Let's cross to Matt Smith because there was a chance for Manchester City just now, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Man City, I said, are piling on this pressure, and it's Kyle Walker who's got the ball just on the edge of the box. And you know, the City, they're camped in this Chelsea final third. You know, they're taking the ball left and right. And I think Kyle Walker, out of frustration, just gets the ball and goes, right, I'm going to absolutely leather this towards the keeper. It does whistle over the bar though. City, having all of this ball, I'll be surprised if it's not in the 70s or 80% of possession. I'm pretty sure it's 70-30. But it's 93 minutes played here. It is still Man City 1, Chelsea 1.
Somehow Manchester City have failed to add a second goal to their tally. Look at the XG now. I mentioned it several times this evening. 2.81 for Manchester City. So they probably should have scored at least 2, if not 3 goals. Although to their credit, Chelsea 1.56 at the moment. And Matt was absolutely spot on there. The possession stats read 70% to Manchester City, 30% only to Chelsea. Dying embers of the game there at the Etihad Stadium. Possibly an update on its way from Matt Smith in just a second, if not for the full-time whistle. Then for something else, Matt Smith, what have you got for us?
Goodness me, there's shouts for penalties, there's shouts for fouls. City, every single Chelsea player is camped in that box and they're just hoofing the ball, clearing the ball, begging for the final whistle to come. But we are still in the 94th minute now. Referee's playing a little bit extra. It's 94 minutes played. Man City 1, Chelsea 1. Tension these last few seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Matt. Let's keep our fingers crossed for some late drama at the Etihad Stadium. 94 and a half minutes played, only 4 minutes of injury time were signalled in La Liga. It is just finished in the game between RB Leipzig and Borussia Mönchengladbach. It has finished 2-0 to RB Leipzig. Pretty comfortable evening's work for them. Xavi Simons opened the scoring there. He's been an important player once again. There is a VAR check at the Etihad Stadium. Hold on to your seatbelts because there could be some late action there. Matt Smith, any news for us yet?
Yeah, the check is over. No penalty, but Man City do have a corner. We're 95th minutes played. The referee's playing a little bit extra, obviously, with all the stoppage. 95 minutes played. Man City 1, Chelsea 1. The check was a little bit of a half-hearted one, but I think the referee is soon to blow the full-time whistle soon.
Not until Manchester City have taken that corner from the right-hand side. Full time has officially been called at the Etihad Stadium. What a breathtaking afternoon of football we have had for you here on Football Live. It has finished at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City 1, Chelsea 1. In the game between Celta Vigo and Barcelona, it is currently 1-1, but Barcelona have a penalty which Lewandowski is about to take, so that might be about to change as well. And it of course finished 2-0 to RB Leipzig in their game at home to Borussia Mönchengladbach. An enormous thanks to my team of wonderful reporters this afternoon, and of course thanks to the effervescent producer John Kane. This has been Football Live.
You have been listening to Football Live, exclusive to Brila FM, sponsored by NairaBet.